And first, I wanted to take the opportunity to welcome you to our February 9th Board of County Commissioners meeting. There are a few people in the House today. It's great to have you here. Some of you will be speaking at the appropriate times. Remember, you give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for that. There are some of you that are obviously watching us online, and that's great to have you. Some of you have called in by 5 o'clock yesterday and have registered, and you'll have your opportunities to speak as well. And before we get started with the meeting, I'm going to call up Reverend Pritchett to do the invocation for us. He is a pastor of Faith Church in St. Petersburg. He's president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance in St. Pete, which is really a group of churches with a vision to assemble and activate a broad coalition of clergy from multiple faith traditions as a force for compassion and social justice. So it's really great to have you in the house this morning, and so we'll all stand for our invocation, and Commissioner Flowers will lead us in the pledge.
Let's pray. As we recover from chaos, COVID, and conflict, we are grateful that the Creator has replaced our mourning with dancing, replaced our sorrowful clothing with coats like Joseph. The signs of victory, celebration, and transitioning is everywhere, but not for everyone. Let us not forget that there are many who still wait in lines for food, wait in lines for COVID tests, and wait in line for vaccinations. That housing, transportation, and employment are still challenges for some. In the beauty, sun, water, sand, and hospitality of this peninsula, may we leaders and constituents embrace the words of a carpenter from a blended family who said, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you visited me." Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Pritchett. This morning, we have a couple of proclamations and a presentation. Proclamations are for Black History Month, Engineers Week, and then a partner proclamation. Before we get started with that, I just did want to obviously recognize that this is President's Month. I think it's actually February 15th is President's Day, and historically that's been changed over the years, and now it's the third Monday of February, and Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, and George Washington, February 22nd. And those, I think it was once upon a time George Washington's birthday that they celebrated, but now it's celebrating all presidents, and just having, seen all of the work over the years, just eternally grateful for the folks that step up and do that job, because it's obviously one of the toughest in the country and obviously in this world. So anyway, we recognize President's Day here in Pinellas County as well. One of those presidents was Barack Obama, the first African-American president. Clearly another African-American who's made significant impact in our country over the years. And today we're going to celebrate Black History Month. From the first African-American woman to be a county commissioner here in Pinellas County. And so Renee is going to do the honors of presenting the proclamation to a few people as we recognize the importance of Black History Month here in Pinellas County. And so with that, Renee, I'll follow you up, and microphone will be yours.
Good morning. It is truly an honor and a pleasure not just to recognize Black History Month in the month of February, but also acknowledging that Black history does in fact happen 365 days out of the year. And we have so many things that we can be proud of, but I am especially proud of the organizations that we will honor on today. There are so many that are deserving of an honor that we cannot have enough time in our meeting to acknowledge them. But today we have some representatives here with us. And I would ask first that the two representatives from the NAACP come up to be with us. That is Ms. Esther Eugene from the St. Petersburg branch, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and Mr. Zeb Atkinson, the North Clearwater branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Whereas grasping the need to promote and regain the often legions of accomplishments set forth by African Americans, such as Dr. Carter G. Woodson, an educator, historian, and author, founded Black History Week in 1926 to forever recognize and honor the contributions of African American people to these United States of America, where Black History Month reminds us ever so gently of the struggles in the past, present, and yet to come. And whereas the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was formalized to draw attention to the uncivil and discriminatory acts besieged upon African Americans, particularly in Jim Crow South. And whereas the mission of the NAACP is to secure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights in order to eliminate race-based discrimination and ensure the health and well-being of all persons. The St. Petersburg branch of the NAACP and the NAACP Upper Clearwater branch, 5096, have kept the vision of the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in the world alive by continuing to fight against injustice in any form, at any time, and in any place. We acknowledge former and current NAACP presidents Morris Milton, Garnell Jenkins, Senator Darrell Roussan, Reverend Dr. Manuel Sykes, Ray Tampa, Maria Scruggs, Zeb D. Atkinson, the sixth and most recently elected Esther Eugene, to name a few. And whereas Mary McLeod Bethune established an organization, if the representative for the National Council of Negro Women could come forward, focused on one mission, could join together to fight the foe of racism and inequality under the banner of the National Council of Negro Women, with the St. Petersburg Metropolitan Chapter continuing to serve as a place where like-minded organizations can execute dreams into reality by providing scholarships for the youth, food for the hungry, and a voice for the voiceless. And whereas, in their absence, Mr. Toriano Parker, President and CEO of Advantage Village Academy, that was established in 2007, located in the heart of the African American community, affectionately known as the Deuces, sought to carry on the legacy of the largest Dr. Martin Luther King Drum Major for Justice Day parade and a week of events focusing on the legacy of the man and carrying on the theme, a day on, not a day off. Whereas it is this month in particular that we pause to pay homage and recognize the strengths of those who have gone before us, so that we might remember the struggles and cease to commit acts of separatism and discrimination in the future. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that the month of February 2021 be recognized as Black History Month, and it is signed by each and every county commissioner. I'd like to present this proclamation to Ms. Esther Eugene, President of the St. Petersburg branch chapter of the NAACP, to Mr. Zeb Atkinson, President of the North Clearwater branch, NAACP, and to my good friend, the President and CEO of the National Council of Negro Women, Ms. Ethel Peoples Robinson. Thank you. And if you would like to say a few words.
Good morning, and thank you. I extend a great greeting to you from the St. Petersburg Metropolitan Section of the National Council of Negro Women. We stand for equality, and we stand for serving our community and our children. We are an organization of African American women, but we don't just label it as that. We're here to help our community, our children, and everyone that needs our help. And again, I thank you for this honor, and I bring you thanks from our organization. Thank you.
Just gonna raise this just a little. Good morning, commissioners, and thank you, Commissioner Flowers, for such an honor. It is a privilege to stand here and to be recognized for the work that these organizations do. Please know that we are here. We're here to do the work for the community. We're here to do the work for our children. We're here to do the work for the voices that can't stand here. and we salute you in everything that you do.
Good morning, all. Thank you for this. We've come a long way. I wanted to congratulate you for becoming a commissioner, but I had no idea that you were the first black person to be a commissioner. Or a black woman. So congratulations on that. As you know, the NAACP is here to support the county in any way that we can. As always, if you need me, just give me a call, and we will be here to help. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a couple of pictures right here.
Oh, we love pictures.
I don't do pictures with a face mask on.
Here you
but-
go. Take this.
You wanna-
You want to get in the middle?
No. I was going to put the guys on the outside.
Thank you all so very much for coming up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. That was really nice. And all of your guests, thank you for being here this morning. They probably already left. And now item number 2 that we have is Engineers Week proclamation. I'd like to have John Carpenter, an engineer from Public Works, and Janelle Ostrowski, an engineer from Utilities, to join me here. And they'll be accepting the Engineers Week proclamation. And I remember when I was entering high school, my dad said, if I'm going to send you to college, I want you to get something that you'll get a job with. And so I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, you need to be an engineer. And I said, what's an engineer? I was, of course, then I was thinking of the ones that run the trains and all that good stuff. So he quickly corrected me on that. And I actually did go get an engineering degree, and all of the tools and what you learn from it, I applied to so many different areas of my life. Some of my engineering friends said I was too smart to get into being a practicing engineer, and I said, no, I wasn't smart enough to be a practicing engineer. So I really do appreciate the opportunity for these folks to be recognized in the profession, to be recognized. Critically important. And I'm just going to read this proclamation and present it, and then you guys can say a few words. But Engineering Week is dedicated to increasing interest and understanding in engineering and technology careers to ensure a successful future engineering workforce. Engineers serve their communities using scientific and technical knowledge and skills to maintain or improve a high quality of life for all residents of Florida. Engineers encourage our young students to realize the power of science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM programs that we commonly hear about, in their daily lives. Engineers continue to stimulate and develop professional concepts among their peers through education and excellence in practice. Engineering helps to drive our economy, protect our environment, improve our public safety and our quality of life. And the knowledge and skills of the engineering practice are critical to meeting the challenge of the 21st century, and now therefore be proclaimed by the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners that February 21st to the 27th of 2021 be recognized as Engineers Week, and certainly here in Pinellas County. So with that, I'll turn this to, I'll get this to the lady. And take a minute for a few words, please.
Well, I didn't expect to say anything, so I feel like this is an Academy Award moment. This is the first time that I've been in front of you all, so thank you for having me. I just want to reiterate the words of Commissioner Eggers. STEM programs are so important, so to those who are watching and listening, encourage your young ones to participate in the STEM programs. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead. Yeah, I echo what Janelle says. The STEM program is like the backbone or the feeder for engineers in so many ways. I've been involved with the Florida Engineering Society for the past 5 years, and I think that's helped me out a lot with my job here and also with the contacts with the consultants that I work with also. So, thank you.
Let's take a picture here. You get on the outside there. But you were right in the middle. Okay. There we go. Right there. So. Thank you all. Appreciate your
Thank
being
you.
here this
Thank
morning.
you.
Thanks again, John and Janelle, for being here this morning and accepting that proclamation. And our last item here is the partner presentation. Is Chris Knox here this morning? Come on up, Chris. He is the president of the Florida Engineering Society, Pinellas chapter, and project manager, senior drainage engineer for Cardno. And so you're here this morning, and welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So just to follow up with Janelle and John, well, thank you for having us here to, discuss the profession of the engineer, and, to have honor of Engineers Week, in honor of Engineers Week. I belong to the organization Florida Engineering Society. We have 19 chapters throughout the state, and I am the president of the Pinellas chapter. Our organization, we do promote the STEM education throughout the community. It's, like John was saying, it's the foundation, and we want to encourage the kids from a young age to get involved in the science, technology, engineering, and math programs. And our chapter does what we can to promote these programs. We have volunteers that participate in the Duke Energy Great American Teach-In every November. We participate with, we have volunteers that participate each year. Oh, I'm sorry. We collaborate with the schools around the county to be involved with mentor programs. And we also take a lot of pride in promoting women in STEM education. We've sponsored programs with the Azalea Middle School and Seminole Middle Schools, where we've had up to 25 female STEM professionals come out and, take times out of their busy schedules, work with the kids, share their experiences and their careers to help just promote the interest in engineering or science altogether. Another program that we take a lot of pride in is Math Counts. This is a competition for middle school kids, and we partner with USF St. Petersburg. Is where we host the event. It's a great event for the kids. It just brings a smile to your face. But it's an individual and team competition, math competition on a Saturday morning, and we provide awards to the top individuals, the top teams, and it's just a really good experience for the kids, the coaches, the teachers, and the parents. So it's, we do give awards to the top kids, and then the top of the top, we also sponsor them in the state competitions. We also promote leadership in the community. We want our engineering community to be involved, and especially we have we sponsor our PE legislative days in Tallahassee. Members can go up to the Capitol. They split you off in groups, and you can actually sit down with your state legislature or your state representatives, the state senators, and discuss the issues within the industry. And it's really helped to grow the leadership within our engineering community. We also have the Florida Engineering Leadership Institute, also known as FELI. It's a 10-month program where it's to enhance the leadership skills of engineers and participants. And the goal is to set out a clear pathway to put these skills into practice, serving our profession and our communities. And it's also a good networking aspect. Again, so we do support, the kids, and but we also support the people within our industry. We provide awards to those outstanding individuals each year. So we do recognize those that do go above and beyond in the industry. And that's all we got. Just we're always looking for members, and you can go online. You can contact me. You can contact Chuck Warrington, and I'll just leave you off with our mission. Florida Engineering Society supports engineering education, promotes the ethical and competent practice of engineering, It enhances the image and well-being of all engineers in the state of Florida and furthers the public knowledge and understanding of the importance of the profession.
Chris, thank you for that presentation. I remember through my 6th grade, like math was just math. And then I ran into a teacher in 7th grade who he turned me upside down and turning in the right direction as far as teaching math. One of the toughest teachers I ever had, but really taught me the basics of math in that grade.
Yeah.
And it just kind of catapulted me through. So it's really important, I think, some of those competitions that you're having to get kids when they're 6th, 7th, 8th graders before they get into high school where they can get a really robust math
Oh, yeah.
curriculum. And
These kids will blow you away.
Yeah,
They're so smart.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. But thank you for all the work you do with the kids to
Thank you.
try to promote the STEM program and that kind of thing. It's
Definitely.
just really important. Any questions for Chris? Great, thank you. Great having you here this morning. Okay, we're going to move on to our 2 public hearings, and we'll turn it over. We have 2 countywide plan amendments, and Kat, please.
So agenda item number 4 is case number CW 21-01. This is a proposal by the City of Tarpon Springs to amend the countywide plan map from residential low-medium to public semi-public regarding 2.82 acres more or less located at 324 East Pine Street, 424 North Ring Avenue, and 395 North Gross Avenue. The public hearing was properly advertised and an affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the authority to be heard.
Okay, thank you. I see Rodney in the house, so it's good to have you here again. Any questions on this item for anybody? I see we have, let's see, item 4. I don't think I have anybody here for item 4. I do not, so I have nobody online. Well, anybody registered that I missed?
There is nobody who is pre-registered for
Okay.
this item.
Thank you. With no questions and nobody to ask anything or present anything, do I have a motion, please? Commissioner Long, and a second by Commissioner Seal. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 5.
Agenda item number 5 is case number CW 21-03. This is a proposal by the City of Tarpon Springs to amend the countywide plan map from resort to residential low-medium regarding 8.61 acres more or less located approximately 400 feet southwest of the intersection of Ainclote Road and Marina Drive. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the authority to be heard.
Thank you, Kat. Any questions by anybody here? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Commissioner Long and second from Commissioner Flowers. And I don't have anybody that's registered unless I miss somebody online.
I do not have anybody who has pre-registered for
Okay.
this item.
So seeing no questions, all in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 6, which is our local state of emergency regular conversation that we have. I'll turn it over to Barry Burton.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you know, first off, I'd ask Dr. Cho to join us at the podium and provide just a brief update regarding trends that we're seeing and talk a little bit about the vaccine rollout and some of the near-term planning issues as this continues to kind of unfold. The biggest issue that, obviously that we have is supply. And so we're going to, Dr. Cho's going to talk about both the limitation and how we're trying to balance that, but some of the other programs that are starting to come online, such as a federal program. So it's kind of a work in progress. I know information is hard to come by. It's hard to come by for us on a daily basis. So Dr. Cho, I'll turn it over to you, and then I'll have some comments.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So starting with the trends, we have seen an improvement since the beginning of January. In terms of our 7-day case count, we're at 258. Our 7-day percent positivity is at 5.6%. In terms of deaths, our cumulative deaths have been 1,339, 88% coming from those older than 65, 60% coming from long-term care facilities. One of the other important metrics we do follow, working with hospital partners, is their capacity. Happy to report that over the last few weeks, there has been improvements in both bed availability as well as ICU. However, there is still a significant amount of COVID patients within the hospitals. As of this morning, 269, 71 in the ICU as well. We do check in with the hospitals on a weekly basis, both on vaccine efforts as well as bed capacity, and they did report on this week's call the decrease in COVID patients altogether. Some do report continued challenges with staff, more specifically in the ICU settings, but those have improved over the last few weeks. Let's moving on to the vaccine piece. As of this morning, 94,550 individuals have at least received one dose here in Pinellas County.
Dr. Cho, what was that number again? I'm sorry.
94,550. As of this morning, which translates to 9.5% of the population. And of that numbers, close to 66,000 have been those older than the age of 65. However, that number, that 66,000, is only about 27% of our larger, because keep in mind, we do have a large population of close to 250,000 in that age category. Commissioner Eggers, I know you mentioned the second dose. All these numbers are available, usually in the afternoon, more so on our DOH website. It's 34,984 that's completed the dose, but keep in mind there is a lag time, the fact that the second dose is separated by 3 weeks. And just to give you some of the work to date, some of the successes, just looking at other comparator counties, the 7 largest counties here in Florida, we're number 2 in terms of the percent vaccinated, at least that one first dose of the 7 largest counties. We just overtook Miami-Dade for the number 1 as the total number of long-term care residents that have been vaccinated as well. So given the fact that we saw at one point in the pandemic 70% of our deaths coming from the long-term care facilities, this is a big achievement really on the part of our partners. And our fire paramedic communities are continuing to do over 10,000 a week, and will continue to do so with looking at options to expand. Going specifically and focusing on the distribution, access, and communications. In terms of distribution, the fire paramedic pods did some healthcare workers yesterday as well as part of today, but then starting today, really going into that second dose. Because keep in mind the 2 vaccines that are currently approved, the Pfizer and Moderna, does require that second dose. And along that line, we are continuing to look for other sites, larger sites, and hopefully we'll be finalizing in terms of staffing, in terms of the operations by sometime next week. In terms of scheduling, we did work with our vendor. We are moving towards more of that waiting list, so that people don't have to rush in to get their spots. So they'll be proactively reaching out to individuals. So something I think both Barry and the commissioners preferred, so that we don't have those issues that we've seen previously. One of another major partner is going to be the pharmacies. At the state level, we work with Publix to get a small amount in 42 of our stores. They started vaccinating last week and will be going into this week. That's in addition to the federal pharmacy programs. The amount and the start date is to be determined, but in the next 2 weeks, we believe they're going to start, so they're going to get an additional federal allotment to 9 Publixes here and 6 either Sam's Club or Walmart. So more access points. And again, it's important just in terms of our overarching theme to get that vaccine out. We do need multiple access points, and hopefully we'll get to that point. So with our pod sites, really working and concentrating over the next 2 to 3 weeks on the second dosing, working with community partners to get that first dose out. So we're working with 3 hospital systems to work on vaccinating their healthcare workers, as well as 65 plus in their networks. We're also working with senior community center communities, 4 of them this week, to do these strike team exercises. Additionally, we're working with partners that has a special VFC, VFA designation that can receive and monitor and maintain the vaccines. That's something that these doctor's office needs to apply at a state level to get some of those vaccines. And then moving on to access. We'll continue to work with our health equity group. Again, there is a disparity in terms of our communities of color receiving the vaccine. We did conduct a community meeting last week, and we'll continue to have those regularly. What we're trying to achieve is a few different actions, including some special events geared towards faith-based communities, as well as organizations that serve communities of color. With these events, we'd like to get a representation, multiple congregations, multiple organizations at the same time. So what we are dedicated to at least doing 1 a week with options to expand based on resources, as well as vaccine availability. Additionally, we're working with the Foundation of Healthy St. Pete. They have plans to contract with navigators, because again, with multiple registration systems through our vendor, the CDR, through the pharmacies, someone that can assist with that, I think would be very beneficial. And then lastly, communications. As you can tell, there is a lot of stuff going on, a lot of changes, both at a state and federal level, and we are dedicated to, again, working with our communications team to give you that information promptly and as accurately as we can. So with that, I'll stop there.
We can just open
Barry,
it up.
go ahead.
Well, we can open it up for questions. I think the big takeaways from the public is, one, if you get registered on the CDR site, they'll reach out to you as we have vaccine available. A lot of the complaints we get is that I got on and I can't get a slot. Well, unfortunately, that's a supply side issue, and that's going to take time. But at least if you get registered, you've got your place in line. As vaccine comes available, we'll reach out to you, and we won't be putting out that at 3 o'clock on a Friday, you've got to rush to try to get one of those slots. The other thing is to look and monitor the number of different sites, and the Publix, the Walmarts, the other places as they come online. Barbara and her team are working to improve on our website. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets lost in the volume of information. And so they're trying to make it easier to navigate, to where if you go to our website, Dr. Cho's website, you'll be able to find that information easily to where it can help inform you. We'll try to keep it as up-to-date as possible as we're able to get the information. So those are 2 of the improvements, I think, from last week, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Good to see you. The website registration, if they've previously registered with CDR on our site, they're on the list and they're in the queue.
That is
correct. They don't have to re-register under a new.
Yeah, if you've registered on CDR, then I'm going to turn to Lourdes, but then you wouldn't have to re-register.
All right, just making sure it's not a new. We're starting from scratch.
No,
or anything. Okay.
it's not a new process.
And then the larger site you mentioned, is that a supplement or replacing the I guess we're calling them pod sites, the EMS sites that we've been doing, or is it a phase out, or is it a combination? Or?
I think it's probably going to be a combination. Again, I think having some of the advantages of having a larger site, we can expand and contract as needed based on vaccine availability. There is, and with more sites, and if we get into a phase to do a lot of second doses in a given week, we can simultaneously at that site, or multiple sites do first and second doses. So we're looking for that. And then given the fact that I'm hopeful in the next few months, hopefully by March, we'll have a 3rd vaccine available, the Johnson & Johnson, which is a single dose. And if that comes into play and we get a good amount of both the 2 vaccines out there, as well as the Johnson & Johnson, we may have the opportunity to get more vaccines out there.
The real idea is to have the capability to ramp up, or consolidate down based upon the supply side. And that's very dependent upon how the other distribution channels roll out. Are the Publix online? Is the Walmart's, and so we'll have to monitor that to see how that goes.
No, it's incredibly simple and complex at the same time. And with the larger site, depending on where we're putting it geographically, that will present its own rewards and challenges as well. Since you mentioned it popped in, I'm making the assumption that if Sam's Club is the pharmacy that that will be available to everyone, not just members of Sam's Club. Something to think about as you're in your calls, maybe.
That's a good question.
I don't want any barriers that, that are ridiculous. And then just also, as we're reaching out to communities of colors, we have the Hispanic Center in Clearwater, the Asian Center in Lellman that we need to keep in the queue as well. But otherwise, again, thank you for your work.
Commissioner Seal.
Yes, my question is, with the registration process, is it the people who registered first that will be contacted first, or how is it random, or how is it being done?
So,
Go ahead.
So we did have those multiple discussions. What is the appropriate way? Right now, what our vendor is leaning towards, and hopefully should have in place by the end of the week, is it's going to be sequential for those older than 65. So those that have registered and first, just working down that list.
Yeah, well, it's important. That's a great question because, those folks. I thought it was going to be what do you call it? Lottery type stuff, but we're doing it.
And there was been a lot of discussion on that, but that also requires technical changes to their system, and so that's very,
Well, this
contractor
is definitely an improvement over before, for sure.
Correct.
And there are folks that have not registered, so get in there, get registered, and
that's a message. And in communications, it's going to be pushing that out. Easy way, by phone or online.
I had a couple more questions, but I want to make sure everybody else right now is okay. All right. Thank you for asking about the registration questions. Thank you for asking about where are you on the list type of thing. I think one of the things that I've heard a lot about is what are we doing to help folks access the system that don't know computers. Just want to make sure that, I ran into it this week at a grocery store where the person walked in, they said, well, can I get a shot? And they said, no, and you need to register on computer. Well, he doesn't have one, doesn't know how to use one. I know a lot of the libraries have computers that they can help with, but is there a phone number that we're pushing out there that they can call in and register by phone also?
There is, the vendor does have a call-in option. Obviously, I think you probably can get in and have better luck in terms of the electronic systems. And keeping in mind that I believe the Publix pharmacies, as well as a number of other pharmacies, as well as the hospitals, use a lot of online. So making sure that number is available, I think is also important. We'll probably include it in our communications.
Yeah, well, it's easier if you know how to do it online. Right. I totally agree with you. And there's some folks that just don't have that assistance and don't have that help. I do know that most of the libraries now have computers, and there's folks there that might be able to help those who haven't navigated the computer world. But we really got to push that out there because there's just so many people who are feeling lost by that.
Just a thought. One of the things is maybe can we start something or messaging as it pertains help your neighbor. If they can't assist and get into their computer themselves, there is somebody probably next door or just down the street or a friend or a family that can assist with those. So maybe pushing that messaging out may be beneficial as well.
Under the CDR McGuire site, the phone number you can call is 844-770-8548. Again, that's 844-770-8548. Somebody can call in there and get registered. And that was one of the big problems before. If you're calling in just at that time, they have to ask you a series of questions from a medical standpoint. In order to be able to complete that process, it takes a few minutes. So you can do that at any time when they're, staffing their call center. So that is another way in which you can do it. But that is for the sites that under ours. I don't know about Publix and the other ones.
And when you register, I'm assuming they'll have your phone number to call you back if you're not a computer user.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. And then I don't know if we've looked at reaching out to those multiple channels that are doing vaccines to make sure that we cross-reference each other with information. And
We
maybe
tried.
maybe that's easier said than done. But I do know that there are folks who may be trying one thing out and they say, well, try as many as you can. All I can do is, try to encourage folks to register with different systems because you don't know when your opportunity is going to happen. So I guess the question would be that we have all these folks, again, having multiple registrations. They get called, is there they don't connect, they don't
There's
communicate.
no way to cross-communicate.
So there's no way to drop them off the
No.
other lists that they've signed up for.
No, but if you're on our, like, for instance, Publix, it's call, first come, first serve when they open up vaccine appointments. And that's a multi-state system. They won't change that. But we're trying to make the information available on the multiple sites to where people can go to one spot and know. But for instance, if you're signed up on our site, but you happen to get a slot and a vaccine at Publix, what will happen is when we reach back out to you, if you don't respond, well, then they'll just move on to the next person. And so it's, they won't be wasted. It'll be recycled and repurposed to the next person.
And then again, the question I keep being asked is doctors' offices, dentists' offices, doctors' offices that aren't part of the hospital's system, or when are they going to get vaccine? Dentist offices, doctors' offices.
Please feel free to send those inquiries our way. There are multiple routes. In fact, we've reached out to a number, because again, we did the Healthcare Worker Day yesterday. We reached out to a number of pharmacies, a number of dentist offices, as well as the non-affiliated healthcare workers. Beyond that, too, the hospitals this week will be reaching out to those healthcare workers not associated with their system.
And that effort that you just talked about has started this week?
No, it's been ongoing since with the availability of the vaccines.
Again,
Hospitals have been reaching out to
I'm
healthcare
talking
workers.
about the dentist offices and that kind of thing.
Yes.
If that messaging is not getting out there, that's what I'm saying. So whatever we can do to get that messaging out, because I'm just telling you, they'd like, so when are you going to consider us?
Okay.
So anyway, just again, I think it's just messaging. It's tough. So anyway, before I go to a few comments from the public here, any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Flowers?
I don't have a question, just a comment. I did receive a call this morning from a young lady. She did get a call back from Publix. They're starting to reach back out to people to tell them when their appointment is, when they get the vaccine. So they are starting to do that. So, that's kind of helpful there. I do like the idea of a help your neighbor because we kind of talk about that in some other instances. There are a couple of other entities like the Tech House through Lynn Harold Johnson who, if a senior can make it to her facility, she helps them go through the process to register online. But they're also getting volunteers to go out to the homes of seniors who feel comfortable to help them register. So there are a couple of entities in the communities throughout the county who are trying to do just that, help them if they can get on a computer or provide that laptop for them or the phone call, but some kind of way to make sure that they're at least in the queue. So I do like that, help your neighbor get vaccinated. I do kind of like that little theme for it. And persons probably would love to if they knew that the senior needed help, or just go knock on their door and say, have you registered and do you need help? So that's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. Help your neighbor. I do think libraries are a great outlet too for folks because they do have computers there. They do have people that can help you as well. It's the same concept. Help your neighbor, but this way.
We'll reach out to them. I think it's a great idea. I mean, about the reaching out to the libraries, the consortium, and also senior centers and places like that to add on to the idea of trying to provide assistance to people.
Anything else, Commissioner Flowers? Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Cho. Appreciate that. We have just a few here, just 2 or 3 that I have. So we'll do in the room first, and we'll ask Don Bowler to come up, please. Again, your name, address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. Dawn Bowler, St. Petersburg. Are comorbidities high risk for COVID, or is high risk a backfire from the use of pharmaceuticals? According to the CDC, oral and intravenous corticosteroids reduce the activity of the immune system, and people who take them may be at an increased risk for severe illness from COVID. Glucocorticoids, classified as a corticosteroid, are potent anti-inflammatory drugs used for various conditions and risk the development of venous thromboembolism, more simply, blood clots. Prednisone, hydrazone, and dexamethasone are in the class of glucocorticoids. Dexamethasone is 6 times more potent than prednisone and 25 times more potent than hydrocortisone. Ulcerative colitis and asthma, listed as high risk for complications, utilize prednisone and hydrocortisone. Dexamethasone, described as effective at suppressing the immune system, is listed under the CDC's hospital treatment guidelines. Among the types of lung infections and pneumonia is fungal, pulmonary aspergillosis, and are more common in people who are immune suppressed, either from certain types of cancer, HIV, or from taking immunosuppressive medications, corticosteroids. One complication of fungal pneumonia is disease dissemination to other sites, including kidneys, heart, liver, and adrenals, as described in severe COVID cases. Investigators in the United States and Spain added 20 case reports to mounting evidence that COVID patients are vulnerable to developing coronavirus disease-associated pulmonary aspergillosis, CAPA. The cases of CAPA were identified at Johns Hopkins Medical Center in Baltimore and the Hospital Clinic of Barcelona in Spain. Systemic or inhaled steroids, often used to manage COVID-related inflammation, were the most common immunosuppressive agents associated with CAPA. Pulmonary fungal infection associated to mechanical ventilation is often the result of multiple risk factors, and early identification for timely antifungal treatment may improve the prognostics of patients and help reduce the mortality rate. Cases of bacterial pneumonia are also not uncommon, and studies found corticosteroids exacerbates bacterial pneumonia. So I ask again, are comorbidities high risk, or is high risk a backfire from the use of pharmaceuticals? Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Okay, Greg Pound.
Greg Pound, I'd like to open my statement with Isaiah 9:16. It says, "For it is the leaders of this people that cause them the heir, and they that are led of them are destroyed." Now, the greatest of what we've got left in America of our people is the old people. Now, I want to know if you county commissioners and if Dr. Cho is going to report on all the people who get vaccinated and end up in the graveyard after they get vaccinated. Okay, I mean, we've got a nursing home ministry, and the people that I know that's in nursing home and living facilities have got vaccinated and they're dead. I can bring their families in here. Jack and Ann Sutherland owned a health food store. They moved into a living facility where they still could drive and so forth and so on. They had a lot of money, and so this was convenient for them because they didn't have to do anything. They took care of everything. But they're both dead now, both of them. And these people were perfectly healthy. They got locked down, they got vaccinated, and now they're in the graveyard. I want to know if you guys are going to report to the people, and honestly report to us, tell us, and keep track of the people that get vaccinated and how many of them die after they get the second shot. That's what I would like you people to do for us. We the people, as you represent us, you're here to protect us, to represent our interest, and I appreciate that you would do that for us, American people, especially for the protection of the old people who built this country, and that's what we'd like. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have anybody else in the room for the state of emergency. I do have one that registered online.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. I do have a Linda Medeiros who has registered online, pre-registered to speak on agenda item number 6 for the local state of emergency. So at this time, if Ms. Madeira, would you please raise your hand in the Zoom application or press star 9 on your telephone in order to speak on this item? And Mr. Chair, it does not appear that Ms. Medeiros has joined us today.
Okay. And that's all I had for the local state of emergency. Barry, I think one of the, we've talked a lot about making sure that the information regarding the vaccines and the side effects from them, could one of you maybe talk to that? So, I mean, not necessarily in terms of responding to the person who just said, but just kind of talk to us a little bit about where we are with vaccine development, what's going on, and those potential side effects, if you can talk about that.
So the safety profile is one of the key things that's studied with these huge studies with the vaccines. Beyond that, too, with the implementation and approval from the FDA of the vaccines, they do have a vaccine adverse event reporting system of ours that's been in place. They've sort of accelerated and amplified it for specifically the COVID vaccine, something that we're monitoring. Additionally, we're working with the paramedics in terms of transport, hospitals, to see any potential adverse events from the vaccines. So something that we're monitoring, and something at a federal, state, and local levels. I can tell you with the two studies that were conducted for both Moderna and Pfizer, there wasn't a significant amount of severe adverse reactions beyond the background of the general population. I know there's been reports in other countries such as Norway where they initially started their vaccination efforts with the nursing home as well as other long-term care facilities. There was some headlines that said that 20-something got the vaccine, they passed away in a given time frame. But what they found is just because of the comorbid conditions, the elderly population, what they found is that the death rate within the country as a whole wasn't changed by the advent or introduction of the vaccine. The vaccine in itself wasn't a direct correlation to the increase of deaths. And from a standpoint of safety and efficacy, it's gone through the same rigorous studies as every vaccine out there. And what the CDC and a lot of the experts are saying is that these vaccines are safe and effective. Keep in mind there are things that we are still learning, specifically the longevity. Just because the vaccine's only been out since December, does it require a booster? And that's an unanswered question at this time.
Okay. And specifically to the question that was asked, when our medical examiner, figures out the cause of death, those are reported.
Yes.
And so if it's directly attributed to that, it would be reported that way.
Right. And keep in mind, everything in the medical examiners and their reports are public information.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Did you have anything else? Yeah.
If I could just offer a few numbers related to that. As of Sunday, over 41 million doses of this vaccine have been administered in the United States, and over 9 million people have received both shots of the vaccines. I have never seen a vaccine that's monitored this closely, ever. I think there's probably never been one in history, and I'm not aware of any reports of increased mortality related to the vaccine.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that comment. Okay. We need to extend the state of emergency, right? Okay, so with no other questions here, do I have a motion to extend the state of emergency? Okay, Commissioner Seal will be the maker of the motion. Commissioner Long, excuse me? Oh, and then Commissioner Long will be the second. All in favor? Do I have to, we've had all the input we need, right? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. We're going to move on to item 7, which is our citizens to be heard. We do have a couple that have registered here. Looks like we have a couple online as well. So, yeah, so we'll go ahead and start with in the House first, and we'll have Pastor Mac Johnson. Pastor Johnson here. Good morning.
I'd like to say good morning to this great county again. And I wanted to come back this time again because
Pastor,
the last time
Pastor,
Pastor,
could you say your name again, please, for the record? Just
my name?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
Your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Mac Johnson. My address is 1295 Church Street, Largo, Florida, 33778.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so on last time I came, I actually only had time to kind of present myself a little bit And I really came to kind of talk about the cause and the answer to this crazy thing. I mean, it seemed crazy, but we can't really call it crazy because we know that the hand of God is in this thing some kind of way. So nothing God does is crazy. Now, so therefore, last week, the last time I talked, I kind of presented myself, letting you guys know that I'm a part of us because I did retire from the county back in some time ago. But anyway, the bottom line is, as I went into the county, I came looking for real life. It's kind of like I went in the military, the same way. I went in the military looking for life, and I learned how to kill. And that's what they taught me to the most part. But life, I found later on, was really God. And I'm afraid that we don't place him in what we're about too much anymore. Now, God called me to be a preacher, and it's kind of like the way he called prophets back in the day. God called me and said, listen, these people are not hearing me. Go and tell them what I say. All right? So I come to be a part of this wonderful county, and I come to ask the county to be a part of me. Help me get people to hear what God say. What does he say? Everybody's lost. Everybody needs life. And I love everybody, and therefore I'm coming in the person of Christ that everybody can have life, can have me. We are called to preach the gospel to the world, and by preaching, God saves people. By teaching God in the Bible, people learn life. By having these different epidemics come into our world the way they're coming, it's the same thing as always has been coming. God calls things to come into the world to get our attention. Not to destroy us or to hurt us, but to get us to understand he's God and life's about him and not about us. So I'm calling our county, along with all this great work and all that we present to our world and our country, to present what life's about again. The Bible is the word of God. God is honored above his name. Jesus Christ have come and lived and died for the sins of the world. You receive Christ, God receive you. The answer to the epidemic today is a relationship with God. Get Christ in your heart, your life, and enjoy the rest of your wonderful life.
Thank you,
very
Pastor.
much.
Appreciate it. Nancy Obarski. Good morning.
Good morning. Nancy Obarski, Beach Trail, Indian Rocks Beach, with another episode of what I call the Gulf Front and the Restless. It's the ongoing saga of the beachfront property owners refusing to sign an easement to have our beach renourished in 2024. The Water Resources Development Act of 1986. That's the law the Army Corps cites to justify requesting the easements. The WRDA basically prohibits the use of federal funds to put sand on private lands, and I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I mean, in policy, that's a good policy. However, it's their application of this law in our particular situation that we question. The law actually prohibits the use of federal funds to solely benefit private shores. That's solely with an emphasis. Our Pinellas shores are public and always have been, and that's where the sand's been placed at least as long as I've been there for 4 renourishments. So how can the Army Corps withhold our sand when not one grain of sand is likely going to be placed in the easement area? I mean, the RDA doesn't authorize them to say, well, if you're ever going to put a grain of sand on that land, that they can withhold our sand. That would be like me leaving here today and going a mile under the speed limit, and the sheriff pulls me over and gives me a ticket because I'm thinking about speeding next week. I don't know how many of you have seen this brochure entitled Things You Should Know Before Signing. It's compiled by 2 retired Indian Shores lawyers, one of which is a former mayor in Indian Rocks. If you're looking for information to challenge the Army Corps, you'll not find a better researched piece, and I will leave a copy for each of you. You know, I keep coming back here 3 minutes every other week, but what would be more productive is if we could have a county forum at the county level. You have the resources, you have the room to be able to spread us out and put the beachfront owners, yourselves, the Army Corps, the representatives from the cities together and let us hammer it out. One Indian Rocks Beach commissioner, an astute commissioner, said to me when I asked him about the easements, he said, we, meaning the city of Indian Rocks Beach, doesn't really have a dog in this fight. And I was a little aggravated by that comment, but in reality, he's correct. I mean, this is not an individual beach community issue. This is a county issue that stands to impact our tourism for a long time if we don't get sand. So I thank you for listening, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Who do I leave these with?
Just leave it right over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we've got 2 more people in person. Greg Pound.
Greg Pound, Largo, Florida. I want to say that when I ran for sheriff against Jim Coates, after getting beat up and my head smashed against a wall at a Republican party, and then put in a paper and locked up in PEMS. Then I ran against Robert Guattari, and I won that race. I was a shoo-in candidate. Robert Guattari is still an attorney to this day. Out of his own mouth, he tells up in Tallahassee, I'm not only an attorney, I'm also the sheriff of Pinellas County, which is a violation of our Constitution, separation of power clause by James Madison and the rest of the framers. And what you guys are doing is he's protecting you and you're protecting him. Any deputy on the sheriff's department would be a legal sheriff in our county. We see the corruption in this United States from D.C. to Pinellas County. We see that the globalists are paying you people off. They're coming in and taking over our country, and they're going to wipe us out. That's their goal. They're going to take away our freedoms and our liberties. And you guys are working with them. When you sanction people like Robert Guattari and the criminals running this county, and the whole situation, I've been exposing this for over 15 years. When we have in the Bible, it says, thou shalt not lie, the 9th commandment, 8th commandment, thou shalt not steal, the money's being stolen from the taxpayers. Just one thing after another, thou shalt not kill. We've got nothing but crime, and it's our political leaders. It's our leadership. It's not the people. It's never been the people. It's been those who lead us. The people follow the leadership. And we see this massive corruption, this fraud that's going on in this country, and it's in our county commissioner meeting. If I'm the shoo-in candidate, all these people in this county would be arrested. The criminals would be arrested, from the county commissioners to the people in our local system. We would weed them out, get them out, because they're destroying we the people. And our greatest country on the planet Earth is America. And we're in this battle, and we're losing. And we're gonna lose big time. And this is what we're dealing with. And so you people need to evaluate what you're doing for money. You're power-hungry people out of control. You've been on this merry-go-round from one office to the next in Pinellas County. We have no new blood in here. We have no citizens. You guys are politicians. You've been polished in order to look like you're representing us, and you're not. And this is what we've got. And if it doesn't change, we're in big trouble in this country. China's laughing in our face. They're laughing at us. The borders are wide open now. The oil is going to go up. Everything's going to be exported back out to China. And we're going to find ourselves back on our knees. That's where we're supposed to be, is on our knees. And if the people don't start praying, if this country doesn't repent and start praying and go back to families and establish men as the picture of authority. The Bible says, woe to the nation when you have a woman as a leader. Biden's going to be taken out, and Kamala Harris is going to be the president. And the Bible says, woe to the nation when you have a woman as its leader.
Okay, David Ballard Geddes Jr.
Good day, Commissioners. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. The example last meeting this board gave in regards to human trafficking and prostitutes during the Super Bowl ignores the human trafficking that took place with the African slave trade, a slave trade conducted by our so-called government. And let's not forget the indigenous Indians who were beaten, starved, scalped, and forced onto reservations, systematically fed alcohol and illicit drugs almost to extinction. And what about the indebted Chinese servants who built the railroad tracks out west? Their unmarked graves still line the tracks today. And the Irish, brick by brick, working for potatoes, building New York City and Chicago, they need not apply, right? Let's remember the mass exodus of the island of Cuba, the human trafficking and the subjection of the Cuban population, beginning with the Bay of Pigs. Furthermore, while we were focused in on the false pretense of Vietnam, Gert Rosenthal was forcing the indigenous people of Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras from their rightful lands, silently creating a vacancy to a land of new milk and honey for Great Britain and Israel, predispositioned down there, as this country up here has been staged for the soon-to-be disease of a second civil war. All these immigrants worldwide trafficked here to this land for the purpose of going from the frying pan into the fire, intent on vanquishing Christianity as based on Federalist Paper number 2, claimed as due process in the 14th Amendment. The example this board gave of human trafficking and prostitutes, for the most part, the prostitutes that work the Super Bowl at that level of play, they do it for the sport of it. The porn industry is as big a money-making game as is the NFL, as is the political play of this board is nonetheless a big money-making game in and of itself. Liably so, this big political play of trafficking and evasion of such issues, you just fumbled your legitimacy. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. We have Bruce Rumble, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bruce Rumble, Belventos Homeowners Association, and Pro Alignment B for Pinellas Trail North Loop. I am here to request that we push out the vote that was made last on the 4th for the Alignment A on the Pinellas Trail. If we can retract that vote and push it out a couple weeks, we feel that we were, us Pro B alignment folks were not represented hardly at all from Mr. Jacobs, and also the fact that we had requested all commissioners come out and view and meet with us to see the two different alignments so that you could actually see firsthand the pros and cons. The 4 commissioners that voted for alignment A, to the best of our knowledge, did not come out. They didn't meet with us. So we would like to request to retract and re-vote in a couple weeks after we can get them either out there to view the pros of alignment B and the safety reasons that we're really pushing it, and also see all the aesthetics of how it would look, and also the traffic issues. So what we're really requesting is a re-vote, and if
the road on East Lake Road, and there has been no safety concerns that I have looked in records and could not find any. And that is because it flows with traffic. It would do the same on Countryside Boulevard, and Countryside Boulevard has less than half the traffic as East Lake Road. So that's a perfect precedent to use. In addition, if you use alignment B, please know that Mr. Jacobs did not point this out. You would have to cross 4 additional throughways, not 5-mile-an-hour pathways out of people's driveways, actual throughways of 25 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour. That traffic on Fox Hill, Northside Drive, Meadowood, and Northridge Drive. All 4 of those roads would be avoided by using alignment B. In alignment B, again, you're running parallel to traffic, you're not crossing it. Crossing traffic is where accidents happen. Running parallel to it, like East Lake Road has, is not a threat to safety. Please keep this in mind, and please accept our invitation. Commissioner Peters, Commissioner Flowers, Commissioner Gerard, and Commissioner Long, please accept our invitation to come out and just visit for 10 minutes. We would really appreciate it, and we feel it's in the best interest of the future of Countryside residents for generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, the next person who is pre-registered to speak is a Mr. Craig Murtha. Mr. Murtha, if you are on the call, if you could please raise your hand in the Zoom application or press *9 on your telephone so we can unmute you. And Mr. Chair, it does not appear that Mr. Murtha has joined us today. So I'm going to move on to our next speaker, which is Mr. Tony Kavadar. Mr. Kavadar, if you could please raise your hand in the Zoom application. Once you are unmuted, please state and spell your name and state your address for the record. You will have 3 minutes, sir.
I did. No.
Hello, Tony?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, good. I wasn't sure. My name is Tony Kavadar. That's last name is Kvedar. I live at 3390 Thalia Court in Clearwater. And let me first start out by saying thank you for this opportunity to speak again. I spoke last Thursday as well. I just wanted to give you my impression of how things unfolded at the last meeting and just reiterate a few of the things. First of all, I got the impression that the commissioners who were supporting alignment A were very concerned about which was the safer route. That seemed to be the overall, and it should be the overall concern. And I got the impression, and I could be wrong, but I got the impression that you're talking about putting one route, which would be alignment B, down a Countryside Drive where there is a more traffic and a higher speed, versus going down under the transmission lines, and then a 1,000-foot space on Meadowwood Drive, which was less traffic and a lower speed limit. And therefore, that seemed to be what dictated the decision, in my view. And I just wanted to re-emphasize that you've got one other thing to take into consideration here, is that as you look at the alignment B process and going down Countryside Drive, you have a much wider area to put a path in that can still be way away from the road. Where if you go with the Meadowwood Drive option, you've got a much smaller area to put the path in. Putting it in that area will therefore create additional congestion on a much smaller street than Countryside, and where people park on both sides, and where you have a bus stop. Where I say a bus stop, it's a school bus stop that is utilized by a number of different school buses twice a day. In fact, I have some pictures of that bus stop. I'd be more than happy to send to you if you would like. But I think those are things that need to be viewed firsthand. So I want to reemphasize the same thing that was extended by my two previous speakers, to come out and see the area for yourself and make your decision based on that visit, where you can more or less view it and see that there are some what I call hidden safety issues that aren't apparent from the presentation that was made by the staff last Thursday. So please come out. We're more than happy to have you. Love to talk with you and just show you the two paths. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Did you want to check back to see if that other?
It does not appear that Mr. Murtha has joined us at this time. I do not have any other speakers.
Okay, thank you, Kat. Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We have just one item, number 12, that involves some dollars. It's a intersection improvements at 49th Street and 38th Avenue for $1.176 million. So I just want to, if anybody has any item they want to pull from the consent, otherwise I need a motion for approval. Commissioner Peters, maker of the motion, and Commissioner Long edges out Commissioner Justice for the second. Okay. We need to, no, Nobody's registered.
I do not have any individuals who have pre-registered.
Okay. All right. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, on to the regular agenda item. Mr. Burton, under Administrative Services.
Item number 14 is a resolution granting status to the Florida Digital Amateur Radio Network for the donation of surplus property. Again, this just makes them eligible to be a recipient in the future for surplus property.
Second.
Maker of the motion is Commissioner Long, second Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner Seal?
Thank you, Pat. If we did any research as to the validity of this organization,
Sure. Andrew Pupke's here. He can speak to that.
because we normally just don't add organizations to our surplus list.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Pupke, the Administrative Services Department. Yes, we did do some background on the organization. They are registered as a not-for-profit with the state of Florida. They have an indirect affiliation with emergency management. They do provide these digital repeaters in hospitals as well as in EOCs throughout the region. I did confirm that we do have one of their repeaters in our EOC. Again, it's an indirect affiliation. There is another organization that the EOC works with, emergency management works with for the shelter communications, but we do have a radio from this organization that would allow us to communicate directly with these healthcare sector agencies or locations, hospitals and specifically.
Okay. One reason I asked was they spelled Irma wrong in their application, and it just sort of did a little red flag for me.
Understood.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Of course, I don't have anybody registered.
I do not have anybody who has pre-registered for this item.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item 15.
Item number 15 is provide direction to staff on the honorary and philanthropic naming rights policy. As you're aware, you've received 3 different requests for naming of specific facilities. So we've placed this item on your agenda for discussion and consideration and to provide direction to staff on each of these items.
Okay. This is ours to discuss and decide. Commissioner Peters, go ahead.
I think since there's so much support for the Bernie McCabe naming, I would like to waive the rules on the Bernie McCabe naming and just go ahead and move forward on it without having to go through the other processes. That's my thought, and I'd really like to have a conversation about that. Clearly, there's a lot of bipartisan support, and I just think that's the way to go with that.
Okay, Commissioner Flowers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am going to support sending this to a committee for discussion. Mr. Fred G. Menace was a well-known African-American attorney. He actually recruited me to go to Howard University, where he graduated from. The Fred G. Menace Bar Association has sent a letter asking that we consider naming the facility after him. A number of attorneys and community people have signed on to that petition, and even Senator Roussan, who also signed on for Bernie McCabe, also signed the letter and sent the letter for the Fred G. Menace Attorney Association. So I think we need to follow what the process is that we have, and you all have heard me as it relates to my request for future, going forward in the future, that we really establish some true guidelines of how, we will entertain naming a facility after a person, But I think we should go ahead and send this information to a committee, allow people from the community to share their support or non-support, and then we take that information at hand. That doesn't say that we automatically we'll take that recommendation from the committee, but it certainly will allow a broader audience to share their opinion. There's also been a number of phone calls. Some of you probably have received them as well, but I've received phone calls from a number of attorneys that are concerned with the naming of a facility when you have people that are coming into that facility for whatever reason, but they certainly are on trial for something. And what that would make that person feel like. Some people may think or say that it's just the appearance of a feeling or whatever, but I'm going to take into account, you know, that you're walking into a building and there's a prosecution on one side, there's the public defender or your private attorney on the other side, and what are your chances of feeling that there's equality or equity in the decisions that are being made. So I would support that we go ahead and take the recommendation that we move on to a committee, and that at a later date really establish some true guidelines related to how we allow for the naming of facilities.
Commissioner Seal?
Yes, thank you. I handed you all out a history book. It's the second edition about the constitutional officers. And when you're done, if you would return it to me, because there's not very many copies, and I don't have one at this point. But I think, first of all, let me say I thought the world of Mr. McCabe and what he accomplished for this county. But I think we need to be very cautious in how we proceed with naming buildings. I think Commissioner Flowers made a good point. We've heard from others with concern that both sides of the justice system would not be represented in a naming of a building. I also think Mr. Menace should be recognized in some way. So maybe if we do send this to the committee, we ask them to be a little bit more broad in their scope and thinking about alternatives besides just naming a building. Maybe we establish a Hall of Fame. Maybe we establish, like they did in the Supervisor of Elections office, where each Supervisor of Election in the past has a photograph and a history of them in the office so that people can read, and when they visit the office, they can see that. We could update these history books. There's also one from 1996, and Commissioner Sally Parks initiated this project of recognizing the history of each county commissioner. This has not been updated while the constitutional officers has been. We could look at naming rooms. We could, as mentioned in Mr. Menace, the application, maybe looking at the law library. Maybe we could look at the state attorney's office itself, naming it after Mr. McCabe. I just think that there's a lot of good options to consider, and that if we do send this to a committee, then we ought to ask them to look at various ideas. But finally, the other thing I just wanted to mention in closing is thank you, Kat, for helping me to find the past minutes. I thought we had a policy in place, and that's where memory sometimes fails you, that someone needed to be deceased for 5 years. And in fact, if you look at the minutes, it was a 4-3 vote to take out living or deceased at that time in 2005. And so that might be something that we want to consider going forward. And maybe that's something we could also ask this committee to do, as Commissioner Flowers mentioned. What are other guidelines that we should be looking at? So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. And we'll see what happens.
Commissioner Gerard?
Sorry. Thank you. I would like to honor Mr. McCabe. I think he put in some wonderful service over the years. In a perfect world, though, I am also a bit concerned about the defense side of the equation in naming that building. And given that we don't have any rule about being deceased, I would love to see it, and he would kill me for saying this, I would love to see it named after both Barry McCabe and Mr. Dillinger. I think that would be fair. He would say absolutely not, I'm sure. That's just the kind of guy he is. But, you know, and especially since he signed that letter. But I think that makes more sense. So that's my 2 cents. Although when we look at the policy, I'd love to see us have a time limit so we're not making emotional decisions about, you know, somebody who just passed away a few months ago.
Thank you, Commissioner Gerard. Yeah, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I lean towards the committee process of some sort at this point. I mean, I know Mr. McCabe like we all knew him to a certain degree. I didn't know him as well as others. I had a great conversation with Speaker Sprowls about some of Mr. McCabe's history that I wasn't really aware of, and so that was enlightening, and it showed that there's absolutely a place for us to recognize his service and to honor his record, and absolutely we should do that. But I think back to where, in the 8 years I've been on here, we've done 2 namings. And the first one was Mr. Neary, after he'd been gone for 2 years, and we all knew him very well. And the second was after our former colleague, Commissioner Maroney, and it was a year after he passed before we even had the first discussion about it. And when we had a discussion about honoring Commissioner Maroney, we had 2 or 3 or 4 meetings that we discussed the topic. We discussed whether we were going to do it. We discussed what would be good ways to do it. We narrowed it down to a couple of places, then we discussed that. It wasn't a one-off meeting that we just did it. And so I would like the committee, but whether that or whether we set aside some time to really go through it and have a discussion of heart on it. But I don't think today, right now, this morning, is the place to do it and just make the decision. I think it's worthy of more conversation.
Yes, Commissioner Long.
Well, thank you all for your very thoughtful and very thoughtful comments. I know we all had our own personal relationship with Mr. McCabe, and there's just no question that he brought a level of stability and fairness and just incredible integrity to the office of the state attorney. And I was struck by the last sentence of Speaker Sprowls' letter, in which he urged us to, quote unquote, do the right thing, because that's what Mr. McCabe would have done. And I agree with that. Now, all of that said, we all, I know I have, received either email, text messages, or phone calls from folks who have a different opinion. And I'd just like to share for discussion some of the comments that have been made to me. And I would like you, while I'm offering these suggestions, to think about that lovely statue of Lady Justice, which has the scales on it, and the scales represent both sides of the judicial system, the prosecutor and the public defender, which Commissioner Gerard alluded to a little bit. The other thing that I would like to share is that I did receive, there are some very prominent people who work in the courthouse who do not feel that it is appropriate for their opinions to be shared in the public domain. And so while I have great respect for them, I'd just like to share some thoughts that have been shared with me from some people who work out at the justice system. And here they are, just for discussion and thought. You know, there have been many thoughtful people that have passed through these doors, and every one of them has worked really, really hard to ensure neutrality, because that is the way that our justice system is supposed to work, that there's a prosecutor and a defense, and everyone is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and everyone that walks into that building is not involved in a trial. I know Clerk Burke has many offices out there as an example. The other thing that I would like to share is there are, and I did not know this, but according to several of the folks that I spoke with who also work in that building, there is not another courthouse in America that is named after a prosecutor or a defender. Now, I certainly have not had the time or the wherewithal to do that research, and that information was just given to me yesterday, so I've not had an opportunity to talk with Doyle about maybe searching that out either. But I think that's something for us to consider moving forward. And at the end of the day, I would like, and maybe Commissioner Peters, you're in a better position to answer this than I am, given the remarks that you made. What is the sense of urgency that this has to be done right now, today? Because this commission has a long history, a rich history, of being very thoughtful, very considerate, considering everyone's opinions and not making knee-jerk reactions to issues. And I'm not saying it's a knee-jerk reaction. I understand it's very personal. I understand all the emotions involved because we all lived through that with Commissioner Maroney. And so I just would like to know, is there some really good reason why we would not send this out to a well-appointed group of citizens who represent more than just the powerful and the elite to discuss this issue? I'm just asking because I don't know.
Go ahead, Commissioner Peters.
So, well, thank you, Commissioner Long. I am a big proponent of hearing from the people, and you're absolutely right. I absolutely am a big proponent of it. When I look at Mr. McCabe and his history, and I agree with Commissioner Gerard about Mr. Dillinger. I think he's done an amazing job. But Mr. Dillinger and even the sheriff would not have been quite as successful on a lot of their diversion programs if the state attorney wasn't in support. And so the way that he, as a prosecutor, worked to protect people so that if they had a mental illness or if they had a drug problem, that there were options for diversion and he wasn't just the arrest and prosecute and punish and criminalize. And so I just feel very strongly, and it's really not even emotional for me, I feel very, very strongly about his character and what he's done in his past, that, and quite honestly, I didn't know the history of John Maroney. I just know that you, in my opinion, was, and I didn't watch it because I wasn't here, it seemed to be expedited quickly, as did Rainieri. So I wasn't familiar with all of that process. But you didn't wait a certain, 5 years or 4 years, and if there is a policy, you didn't wait on that. I just have great respect, as do every single person that wrote letters to us, have great respect for the work that he did to ensure that people were not criminalized for an illness, or they were not criminalized for things that they shouldn't have been. And I think we need more leaders like that. I think we need more role models like that. And so, to me, it's not even that emotional. It's I just believe in him that much. I've read every letter that we've gotten, and every letter, and from very respected people around this state, not just the community, who really believe in his work and what he's done and what he stood for. And so it's not that it's a rush, it's just what I think is the right thing to do.
Okay, if I could follow up.
Go ahead.
I also, and I can't remember, I don't think I said this, but it was also pointed out to me that there is a whole wing of that courthouse that have all the state attorneys in it, and there's another wing of the courthouse that has all the public defenders in it. So in keeping with some of the remarks Commissioner Seal made, I do think it would be incredibly appropriate to maybe have the attorneys over there in the state attorney's office, maybe all get together, and we could call that the Bernie McCabe wing, and do the same thing on the other side for Bob Dillinger. And to the issue about whether or not somebody is alive or deceased, I just would like to remind you that the Joint Use Library in Seminole is named after Senator Dennis Jones. And that happened many years ago. He has been out of office for many years, and as late as yesterday, he was alive and very well. So just wanted to point that out regarding that.
Thank you. Yeah, this one is, it's interesting that, you know, these kinds of topics could be talked about at any time, right? So that we could talk about it when it wasn't emotional, and there wasn't somebody's name being considered, and so that we could address, I think the policy, as you pointed out, it was 4-3 vote back in '06, and probably a good idea for us to take a look at that again. I don't know how much it would change. I think having that conversation is important. I tend to think that, you know, the idea that Bernie McCabe kind of stood out from being just a prosecutor in terms of making that whole process of our criminal justice system work. And I shouldn't even say criminal justice, our justice system work. And those that maybe did end up being prosecuted actually had a diversion program that worked well. And he was supportive of a lot of things that kind of maybe don't fall into the scope of what a prosecutor normally goes through. I mean, again, that doesn't speak to the person necessarily, but I do think there is some real value in recognizing the name. I do agree with you on the element of the balance in our courts, in our court system, in our you know, judicial system, our judicial buildings, that is important to keep. And to the extent whether you call it a McCabe-Dillinger building or whether you have the wings involved, you know, like you were talking about, I think that's a conversation we can have. I don't mind the idea of sending it to a group. I can't even remember. Does it say that we pick the group, or does the county administrator pick the group? Yeah. So you select a group of people to.
Oh no, that's yours.
Okay. Well, I think this thing. I think
But what it says, just to be specific, I was being a little facetious, but what it says is that if you have, so for instance, if it's a park, you should use the advisory committee where you have a standing advisory committee for that purpose. In this particular case, you don't have a standing committee in an advisory capacity, so it would be best to form that based upon, you know, your guidance.
Excuse me? Could you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I was talking to myself. A naming rights committee or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the two efforts are mutually exclusive. I do think we have a pretty amazing gentleman who did incredible things for our community that we could consider immediately. I don't mean necessarily today. We could do it look at it maybe a little more in depth at a workshop amongst our group instead of sending Bernie's effort back to a committee, because I think I think the committee discussion might be good for those folks that aren't as well known, but also to talk about policies that we want to consider going forward. But I'm okay. I think Commissioner Justice said, you know, you're learning some things about Mr. McCabe that maybe you didn't know about, and so to have that kind of additional conversation at a workshop coming up soon, not 6 months down the road, not 90 days, I think would be helpful. But I'm kind of like Commissioner Peters. I think this particular person, Bernie McCabe, just elevates himself so high, and then we can have the story that's put in the building that talks about why he was considered for that position, and whether it becomes the McCabe Justice Center or the McCabe Wing or the McCabe, you know, at some point later we decide we want to add Dillinger's name or some defense person's name to it, we can do that, or we can keep the wing issue going. I mean, those are things we can discuss. But I'd rather not send you know, Mr. McCabe to a committee for discussion. I don't think that's necessary. Just my opinion. So I wanted to open that up for further conversation. Commissioner Justice.
Thank you. And I think one other thing is that would be at one of these discussions, again, I think about our history with Commissioner Maroney, is we discussed multiple options. We discussed the assembly room. We discussed, you know, this building or that building, and to have a meeting where we said, okay, right now there's one option on the table, nothing else. We haven't really looked at whether it's and again, I'm not well versed in that complex out there to where I know what the different settings are that would be appropriate for another alternative. But again, I support finding a way to honor his work, But I just think that we haven't had that discussion of what are the options when we have a choice to make.
Yeah, Commissioner Seal?
Yes, I would agree. Let's go ahead and, if anybody has any thoughts, put it in writing to the chairman, and then let's put together a work session to have that discussion. Again, you know, I thought the world of Mr. McCabe, I think the world of Mr. Dillinger, but I do want you to look at these history books because there are also some other legends who have served as state attorney and public defender, especially during the 70s when financial disclosure and Sunshine Law went into effect, and there was a lot of criminal activity back in the 70s, and you just look and read about their history, because I think you'll be like, oh my goodness, how do you recognize one legend over the other? So just some thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Flowers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a problem with us serving as the committee for this, to discuss Mr. McCabe. And I don't want anyone to, not that anyone has asserted this, but I don't want anyone even viewing that I am opposed to or have a concern with Mr. McCabe. Every year, myself, Commissioner Justice, Bernie McCabe, and the sheriff, we served on a panel together talking about our different areas of expertise. At the time, me with the school board. Bernie McCabe did work with the community when we started having a rash of young people stealing cars in the community, and serving on the JDI committee, as a charter member. He was very clear with us. These specific issues, I will give some leniency, but for breaking and entering with a weapon and for auto thefts, I will not. Fully understood that. So there were times when he and I worked together on things and we agreed. There are times when he and I worked on things together and we did not agree. We never left the table angry or mad at each other. So I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I think we need to be very deliberate and take into account all of the things that have been brought to the table and have a good discussion, which is what it seems like we may be leaning to, and I'm in support of that. So I don't have a problem with us as the committee, you know, discussing it at a workshop to occur sooner rather than later. And I'm not opposed to, I would really like for us, for the future, to really put into process some defined outlines of how we would do this in the future. But I didn't want to leave anyone with the thought that I was opposed to Mr. McCabe or anything of that nature. I'm not. As it relates to Mr. Dillinger, I did bring that up. I'm sure some of you as well, but I brought that up to someone who signed the letter, and they stated that they had spoken with him, and his preference was that he not be named on the building. That doesn't say that doesn't mean that we can't honor him anyway, because he's done so many things as the public defender, but also with raising awareness of depression and whatnot as it relates to his charity. So he's done some really wonderful things, and it has benefited some really needed services in our community. So I'm glad we're having a discussion and that everybody's open to a myriad of potential opportunities to honor the life and the legacy and the accomplishments of the names that have been brought forth before us.
Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner Long. And then I'll go to-
Yes, and I just would like to further add on that I really do not want to see us send this out to a committee that takes, I think it was 90 days before they come back to us. I mean, we are capable, I think, of making this decision. I'm okay if we want to send it out to a small group, but not a group made up of 13 or 14 or 15 people that are just going to sit around and talk for hours and not make any decision. I mean, I think some of the discussion that we've had this morning is very worthy of maybe a deeper thought process and some time to just absorb it. But I think, you know, we all had our own special relationship, whatever that might have been, with Mr. McCabe, and would like to see his life's work honored appropriately, for sure.
Commissioner Gerard?
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with us making that decision either. I think we're perfectly capable of doing that, even though we haven't come to consensus right now. I would say I was thinking while you were talking about all the things that Mr. McCabe did about Mr. Dillinger and his work with kids aging out of foster care and just all the stuff that people didn't even know he was doing. He was quite community-oriented. And I would like, if we were going to name the whole building after him, that we reserve the right to add his name someday, because I think he was an incredible guy. And I don't think anybody on that list would argue with that necessarily. Not that we want him gone anytime soon, but, I mean, he's retired, and like Commissioner Flowers said, I don't think he's going to agree to that while he's still around. But I think that makes so much more sense than naming it after the prosecutor and not, the public defender, because that's what it is. So, I mean, I would be against just naming it naming it for the prosecutor and leaving out that defense side. But I wouldn't have any problem with a wing or whatever. And I love Bernie McCabe too. Big old teddy bear that he was. Thank you.
Commissioner Seal?
Sorry, I did want to mention one other thing. So at the Juvenile Welfare Board meeting yesterday, there was a vote to send a letter. I voted no because I stated that we as a county commission hadn't had this discussion, so I did not feel comfortable weighing in. But Mr. Onks also mentioned Mr. Dillinger. But then even further, our staff is doing a tribute video for Mr. McCabe and also suggested a new award called the LEAD Award that would be named after both Mr. McCabe and Mr. Dillinger and awarded on a yearly basis. So that's another idea, because sometimes when you do a very stellar award that's named after a person, people remember that year after year, because it's like the pinnacle of people who you respected the most, and thinking that there's an award named after them, that they are actually the person who receives that award. So I'll just throw that into the quotient. Thank you.
Okay. Without necessarily a motion today, what I'm kind of hearing is, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, that we are going to have a workshop, I would guess this month, or certainly no later than the first part of March, to discuss Bernie McCabe as a group, and the options that might be available to us in terms of facilities, and we can further discuss some of the things that we've talked about today as far as alternate ideas. But I think that this group feels very comfortable in making the decision about Bernie McCabe. But I think we'd just like to have a little bit more discussion about different, learn more about him as a group, but also what other alternatives might be available. Not that we've ruled out any of them. And then at the same time, or maybe we wait till that meeting to give the direction to form a committee to maybe take a look at the naming rights issues that could come back to us at some future time. Again, I'm not, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so you have actually 3 items on the agenda. So you have Mr. McCabe, I want to get the name correct. You have Mr. Menace, and then you also have the request for Felipe Park. And so there's 3 specific ones. So if you're wanting to discuss the first 2 at that workshop, I just want to get direction in terms of how you're wanting to move forward with that.
Well, I just heard discussing at the workshop Bernie McCabe, but if I'm hearing, go ahead, Commissioner Seal.
We had a request in writing, and out of all respect for Mr. Menace, we need to also have that discussion.
So we'll have that discussion and decide if we want to make a decision then, or we'll make any other decision we want to
That
make.
should be part of the work session,
That's
in my
fine.
opinion.
Okay.
I feel strongly about
pressing my
that.
button for that, too.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Long.
I do not believe that we need to discuss further the renaming of Felipe Park. I mean, we have addressed that issue by adding the tribe underneath the sign that's there, and it's become officially a part of the identity of the park. And we made that decision already, haven't we, Barry?
You did. You discussed it in October of 2015, October of 2016, October or January of 2017, and updated the sign immediately thereafter.
I think that issue can be put to bed, in my opinion.
That was through the park board, but yes.
That's,
Yeah, the park board made recommendations to the commissioners, so on those dates.
Okay. Commissioner Justin?
well, that was my question. I don't remember the commission having that conversation on the park, but
Well, it's October 2015. Park board made a motion and recommended this to the commission. The commission, it says then the park board in October 2016 made by motion renewing the previous approval recommended change. And then in January of 2017, they advised the BCC that they were advised that the BCC will move forward with the renaming request, and then the sign was updated. I wasn't here, so I'm just going by the minutes that we have. So,
Commissioner Jory?
But is it also true that they said several times that they don't want to change the overall name of the park?
that's
They
correct. It
want
was
to add
done
the-
as a subtitle to that, and again, I think that was a compromise in the renaming, and I think the request is to kind of revisit the issue, but it was at least considered and addressed.
Anybody else have any thoughts I mean, I don't think time is of the essence necessarily. I don't want to really complicate our workshop meeting. I think that it is another issue that I don't think we can avoid as a group. I mean, we certainly heard from a committee that's given us their recommendation. I don't know that we've had that discussion, and certainly things have changed since 2017 already. So I'm not saying that needs to be discussed at our workshop, next workshop, but I do think it's something that, again, I'd rather talk about, and I know we have an example of that right now, but we talk about these things when an alternative comes up. And we could talk about it in light of general discussion about what we're going to do with park names and those kinds of things that come our way. I know they're sometimes controversial and they're emotional, but again.
Well, but I think in this particular case, it was asked and answered. You did discuss it, and you made a decision whether somebody agrees with the decision or not.
I get that, Barry, but I'm saying it can change. So
Absolutely.
that's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying that this board wants to do that right now. I'm just saying that times change. And again, I'm not necessarily talking about at the workshop. I think the workshop we need to talk about the two written requests that have been made of us.
Okay.
And we can make that kind of. I don't know, can we make a decision at the workshop on the names, or do we need to bring it to a commission meeting?
You'll need to bring that to a commission for a vote. But however, I can schedule that. The policy does provide that, obviously it's a commission discussion or direction. It gives me the ability to, for instance, if you say you want to develop an ad hoc advisory committee, you give that direction to me, and it delegates me to be able to form that committee. But I think that would only occur after you have that type of formal discussion. So we could do that at a workshop. We can also address some, and we can put down for you kind of a menu of options regarding the naming policy. It may be something that you want to deliberate further, but that would give you at least some recommendations and some options to consider as you're thinking through how you want to act on these two requests.
That's fine, but again, I think my preference would be to have that decision at the April meeting.
Okay.
So that we have a workshop before that to do the workshop work on this. And I think that would be in a couple weeks. So.
I can schedule that. You'll need to do that if you want to get this done, as you suggest, no later than March. You've only got one meeting in March, so we would have to move quickly.
So again, I throw that out for the commission. I mean, is that time frame too tight? I mean, for everybody, or?
I don't think so.
Okay, then let's plan on the workshop that leads into that board meeting to have this discussion about Mr. Menace and Mr. McCabe.
Been March the 4th.
Will be the board meeting.
No, that would be the workshop.
When's our? Oh, is it?
March 9th.
9th?
March 9th.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
you want to put it on a work session, then we'd put that on for the 4th.
Sounds good. And
Okay.
is that okay with everybody here? That's what we'll do.
There
Okay.
you go. That's a decision.
Thank you. Thanks for that discussion, everybody. And let me just say, before, I guess, that's kind of the direction we're going. We do have 3 folks that have weighed in. I don't think there's anybody here in the room on item 15, but we do have 3 online. So if you could check with those 3 folks, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have 3 individuals who have pre-registered to speak on agenda item number 15. The first individual, and she's already raised her hand, is Ms. Danielle Weaver Rogers. Ms. Rogers, if you could please, once you're unmuted, please state and spell your name for the record and state your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Weaver Rogers, last name spelled WEAVER-ROGERS, and I serve as the president of the Fred G. Minnis Senior Bar Association. Our address is P.O. Box 514, Largo, Florida 33779. And I just wanted to give a little bit of background about Fred G. Minnis. He was the first African-American full-time lawyer in Pinellas County. He began his law practice in 1956. He's considered the grandfather of Black lawyers and provided opportunities to Black lawyers when there were none, including Judge James Sanderlin. Minnis handled many civil rights cases, representing students arrested for sit-ins, representing sanitation workers in labor strikes, and arguing the case that integrated the county-operated golf courses. Fred G. Minnis impacted not only the legal profession, but the Pinellas County community as well. Minnis is deserving of a courthouse or a law library in his honor. And just for clarity, we are not seeking to compete with Mr. McCabe in the 49th Street Criminal Justice Complex. We are looking for any courthouse or law library to be named in his honor. This effort was supported by many bar associations, community organizations, and leaders in this community. On behalf of the executive board and the members, it is our hope that this board votes to favor in establishing a naming committee in his honor. If I can be of any assistance, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Mr. Chair, the next person is Mr. Jason Minnis. Mr. Minnis, if you could raise your hand in the Zoom application or press *9 on your telephone. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to speak. If you could please state and spell your name and state your address for the record.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Minnis, M-I-N-N-I-S. My address is 475 Jerome Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11207. Yes, I am greeting you from a cold and dark and wintry place here in Brooklyn. It's good to see that it's nice and sunny down there in Pinellas County. Yes, Fred G. Minnis is my grandfather, and he has had a huge impact on my life. I just want to say that I am originally from Pinellas County. I was raised in South St. Petersburg and Lakewood, and I've been in Brooklyn for the past 15 years. To echo what Danielle said, I think that my grandfather's works are kind of underappreciated. In addition to the work he done with Pinellas County, he also served the military. He also served with the Tuskegee Airmen. He's also buried in Arlington National Cemetery. He's a very distinguished person who had a large and wide impact on a number of people. And just from a personal anecdote standpoint, I can barely walk around Pinellas County with the last name Minnis without somebody telling me that either A, my grandfather helped them in some way, or B, that my grandfather somehow helped them to get into his beloved Howard University. I think that his works need to be explored more often, and especially in the context of Black History Month and thinking about the legacy of Pinellas County leaders. I think that he would be a fine person to honor. It's been an honor to listen to you guys do your work, and I just want to say thank you again for allowing me to speak. And again, if you need any other information or history about him, I have numerous archives, articles, pictures, and anecdotes if you need them. Thank you again, and I see my time.
Jason, thank you for calling in, and you are welcome to come back and visit us this month because we are hitting 60s and 70s. It's just kind of the perfect day. So not to rub it in, but you're welcome back here anytime. But thank you for sharing some personal anecdotes about your grandfather. I think that's pretty cool. And as you probably heard us, we are going to discuss him and Mr. McCabe further at our March 4th workshop. So stay tuned. I don't know how we can get Jason's contact information. I just have an address here. Can he send it to?
Mr. Minnis, if you could email our BCC agenda comments inbox with your contact information, if you'd like. It's BCC agenda comments at mypinellasclerk.org. Again, that's BCC agenda comments at mypinellasclerk.org, and I can share your contact information with the commissioner.
Got it. Thank you very much. I got it.
Again, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Now let's just down there and go Bucks.
Go ahead.
And Mr. Chair, the third individual who is pre-registered to speak on agenda item number 15 is Mr. Bruce Bartlett, the state attorney. Mr. Bartlett, could you please raise your hand in the Zoom application or press star 9 on your telephone to speak on this agenda item? And again, if you could state and spell your name and state your address for the record, you will have 3 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
My name is Bruce Bartlett. I'm the new state attorney replacing Mr. McCabe. I'm located at 5100 144th Avenue North, Clearwater, Florida. I probably should reserve my comments, I guess, maybe. Will I be allowed to address the workshop on this matter?
Yeah, well, possibly. Stay tuned on that. We don't normally do that at workshops, but we may make an exception. So stay tuned. We'll definitely bring this to a commission meeting where you will be able to have public input. So for sure, we'll do it at that. And you certainly can send any other information to us, but not sure about at the workshop yet.
Okay. Well, I have a few comments I'd like to make if I could. Some things that somewhat distinguish Mr. McCabe from some of the other names that were mentioned. As you know, there's been an outpour of support from the community concerning naming the Justice Center after Mr. McCabe. He had an integral role in the actual development and building of the Justice Center. He was here for the first phase as well as the second phase, and actually began his career back in 1970s, which I believe Commissioner Steele referred to earlier on. So he has been around through a lot of years, through a lot of different things. He's the longest serving state attorney we've had for 27 years. So actually he was one day into his 28th, but would have been his 28th term. So in that time period, he's had a very profound effect. As Commissioner Flowers mentioned, that he had a big belief and diversion and utilizing other resources, and that criminal prosecution was kind of a last resort. And he went forward with that, with his actions that he took during his time as a state attorney in the office. And I think that's to be recognized. So he's playing the role of a prosecutor as a minister of justice to make sure that the justice is served. There's a bigger picture to this than just prosecuting everybody. And it's interesting to note that all the cases that come out to the Criminal Justice Center after arrests are made or the referrals are made, all pass through the hands of the state attorney's office in one shape, form, or another. And before they can even get to the public defender stage or before they even get to the judicial stage, a decision has to be made if that case is going to proceed it on or not, and that case is made by the state attorney. So he has a very, very large role in that the decision to charge, or more importantly, not to charge at that stage was a very, very important one for him. It's a kind of a quasi-judicial role. And he took very, very much concern and deliberation on many, many of those cases as to what course of action he should take as the prosecutor in the case. So there have been hundreds of lawyers who have gone through this office. Strangely enough, I didn't know this until I started looking at some numbers the other day, but of the 69 judges that are now sitting in the Sixth Circuit, 37, more than half, 37 have had their beginning in the legal career through the state attorney's office and have had the imprint, and I say imprint in that working for Mr. McCabe in the state attorney's office in one shape, form, or another. So you know, he's had a very, very large impact on the system, as have some other people have too, but Mr. McCabe for a longer period of time, and I think that's worth recognizing for his past accomplishments. And most all of you have had some contact with him, obviously through the county commission or in other ways, and they know where his heart was really, and it was in doing the right thing. And so, as Mr. Sproul said, I'd like to see y'all do the right thing and get this thing over with and name the Justice Center on behalf of Mr. McCabe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Bruce, thank you for calling in. Congratulations for your appointment.
Thank you.
So we, as you may have heard, we are going to have a workshop on the item on March 4th.
Yes, sir. I was aware.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Any other? I don't have anything else.
Mr. Chair, I do not have anybody else who is pre-registered on this item.
Okay, so with that said, we are going to take a break till 12:10, have some lunch, and then we'll finish up the rest of the commission meeting, which shouldn't take too long, but lunch is here, so we'll take a break now.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do we need to do any formal action on that item, defer it or anything like that, or is it just?
I'll ask any.
You don't need to take any formal action if
We've
you're just
given direction,
deferring it.
and we're going to have a workshop, and
That's correct.
Thank you for asking, appreciate it. Anything that by doing it, okay, we're good. All right, we'll take a break here till 12:10. Thank you. We are on item 16 under emergency management. Mr. Burton.
Item 16 is a memorandum of understanding with Pinellas County Schools to provide capital improvement program funding for hurricane shelter retrofits for pre-identified Pinellas County schools. In answer to Commissioner Flowers' question, there is a markup on that, or maybe Justice, I forget, but I know you asked about a markup. There is a markup on that. However, if that is to cover any price increases as a result from the time you design till construction, if it is not used, it'll be returned.
Thank you, because that was going to be my question, because I did get the response from Lourdes. Thank you so much for responding to me. I read the email, but it didn't say the part about, because I was going to say, what happens if they don't use it? I want my money back.
I appreciate that thought.
Thank you, and I understand that, because I'm just so accustomed to maybe a change order request, if
Correct.
there's an increase in the cost of doing business. But thank you so much for getting that for me.
Okay. Any other questions? And I don't have any cards here. Am I missing
And
anything?
Mr. Chair, I do not have
Okay.
anybody who has pre-registered.
Okay. Commissioner Flowers made the motion, and Commissioner Gerard made the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Under Human Services, item 17.
This is a subrecipient funding agreement with Operation PAR for the Comprehensive Opioid Stimulant and Substance Abuse Site-Based Program Grant. This brings in approximately almost $1.2 million. And again, this is throughput over to Operation PAR.
Okay, does anybody need any presentation or anything? Any questions? Okay. Who made the motion? Okay, Commissioner Flowers. Commissioner Long made the second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, under Public Works, item 18.
It's a grant agreement with the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation for funding and support of Felipe Park's seawall enhancement project through the National Coastal Resiliency Fund. This provides a grant of approximately $130,000 with a matching contribution of $196,000, so a total project of $326,000 to provide design of a enhanced living shoreline option for 2,800 feet at Felipe Park.
Motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Gerard. Are there any questions on item 18? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Commissioner Seal, go ahead.
This sounds fascinating. I just would like to see a picture of what this kind of shoreline will look like. I mean, is it riprap or is it just natural? Is it mangroves? I don't know what it.
I have
will
Kelly
look
coming
like.
up to
So maybe
the
just a
mic to be able to
picture would
answer
be
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
I know whatever Kelly suggests, it'll be great.
Oh, thank you. Kelly Levy, Public Works Director. What we'll be doing here is you've walked that shoreline, everybody's walked that shoreline. So it will be different. The design will be different depending on the analysis of the seawall, because some of the seawall actually needs repaired. There's some tiebacks that are failing, some other structural elements that need corrected because it's holding back the midden behind it. And then the very southern end, there's no seawall, and it's eroding. So in that area, we actually are going to be using oyster balls and oyster bags to create almost like little mini T-groins, and in adding plantings behind it. So it'll basically attenuate wave action off the shoreline and keep it from eroding. And so sand will continue to accrete behind it so that it won't continue to erode, and it'll establish. And then as we move up, the treatments will get different dependent on the structural need of the seawall. So it may include things like reef balls, or what are called WADs, wave attenuation devices. You've seen them as you cross the Courtney Campbell. Out there on the south side of the Courtney Campbell, they have some of those wave attenuation devices. But they incorporate natural materials like lime rock, limestone, oyster shell, with plantings to basically attenuate wave action, and that takes the brunt of the wave energy off the seawall, and it extends its life while creating habitat. We just did a community one up in Ozona. We actually own a very small area of shoreline up in Ozona near the marina there. And we did a community shoreline enhancement up there, installed reef balls and plantings with a volunteer group. And we have, with marketing and communications, helped us with some signage that's placed up there to explain the project and the goals of the project, why we did it, and what it will bring in the future. So there's a nice project up there if you haven't seen that one yet.
Commissioner Justice?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just pointing out that it's in your agenda packet, but this project is partially funded by the Tampa Bay Estuary Program, which has made living shorelines a priority. The Estuary Program has funded a project out on Treasure Island, and as well as the St. Pete College STEM facility there near Bay Pines.
And just to, we received a letter of support from the City of Safety Harbor. So they did a living shoreline all the way up their property. So if you've been up there, you'll see some examples of different living shoreline components that they incorporated. And so by adding Philippi Park to that, that whole area of Tampa Bay, right there on our shoreline, will have a more natural design than just a strict hard seawall. So it's really neat.
Yeah. Sounds like somebody that heads up Public Works or something. Thank you, Kelly. And Commissioner Justice, thank you for your work on Tampa Bay Estuary. Really appreciate that. Any other questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to 19 under Housing Finance Authority.
This resolution is approving issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds by the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County to finance the demolition, rehabilitation, and construction of Jordan Park Apartments. This will provide for the demolition of 31 units, substantial rehabilitation of 206 existing family units, and construction of 60 units of senior housing at their Jordan Park. You had many questions at the last time. Catherine Driver is here from the Housing Finance Authority, and she's available to answer any of those questions.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
Commissioner Flowers.
did have a chance to speak with Mr. Lundy, who is the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, as well as the Housing Finance Corps representatives. You all may want the benefit of their responses
Yeah,
to me.
they're calling in. They're going to have some comments
sorry.
before we.
Okay.
It's okay. No, I'm just, Michael Lundy is asked to speak, and Brian, I'm not sure, Evgen is asked to speak as well. So to the extent that that covers what your conversation was, we'll go with that. Is there any kind of like visual presentation at all that people can see what they're envisioning here? Because I mean, we keep getting people asking us, yeah, do you have something that we can show?
Asked him to bring a design today.
Oh,
I did.
Good.
I asked him to bring a design of how the project.
Well, then
would
they
look.
should be ready to do that. So that's great. Thank you, Commissioner Flowers.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hi there.
That's a little old school. I have a Photoshop of the senior property that I'll be happy to pass it along.
Yeah, that's fine.
Someday when we're back in our building, we'll be able to put it up and be able to project it.
Yeah, just, the idea of trying to get folks excited about opportunities that are coming, our residents that might be seeing it. So to be able to see that.
That's correct.
It's a good thing. So, but anyway, we'll get excited about it.
I'm happy to answer any questions or give you any additional information. As Commissioner Flowers mentioned, we had a conversation yesterday, a lot of detail, answered a lot of questions, and just wanted to assure this board of county commissioners that we've thought about this for quite some time. As you may be aware, that there's been a lot of starts and stops over the years. I've been fortunate enough to come to St. Petersburg been here for 6 months now. And one of the things that we're going to do is make sure we take care of the residents, the citizens of Jordan Park. Currently, we have about 200 families that are currently in Jordan Park in the family units. On these 31 vacant, the 31 units was vacant, was a previous senior development that's been vacated for a couple years now. And we intend to demolish those units and build a state-of-the-art mid-rise of 3 stories. In the family units, we've met with all the residents, and we've had what we call a relocation assessment of each of the residents, and many of them are interested in staying there during the redevelopment. We're going to do the redevelopment in 2 phases, so that we won't disrupt unnecessarily the market in terms of the private units that are available in the marketplace. So that's kind of what we're intending to do. I have with me my developer partner, Mr. Brian Evian, and he'll be happy to talk about any of the more details.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Brian Evian with North Star Development, 3629 Medaka Lane in Tampa. We have the privilege of being the Housing Authority's developer partner. We have been involved in this redevelopment for about 3 years now, and like Mr. Lundy said, there have been several stops and starts, but we're very pleased to be able to work with the Pinellas County Housing Finance Authority and to be here before this commission today. We've been pretty active in Pinellas County with the Pinellas County Housing Authority as well. You may be familiar with the Palms of Pinellas project that was funded through penny dollars through the HFA, and Pinellas Heights that's right up the street from here where we're located today. I know that there were a couple questions that came to us through Catherine Driver and her organization over the last week, and we're happy to answer any questions today.
Thank you.
We appreciate the consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to?
I just wanted to say we're very excited to be a part of this transaction. I'm also very happy to keep it local and be issuing the bonds on behalf of Jordan Park, and that keeps us involved, and we'll know what's happening every step of the way. They originally were planning to issue their bonds through Florida Housing Finance Corporation, and we wouldn't have that luxury. So we're very pleased to be finally getting something done down at Jordan Park, because obviously a lot of rehab needs to happen down there, and we're very excited about this project.
And all the projects are 60% AMI and under, is that?
That's
yeah.
correct.
And the issues I think that we spent some time talking about last time is that transition piece and what's going to happen to folks. So I think that's an important component. Yes, Commissioner Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Lundy as well as the other representatives regarding the relocation piece. And I did share some additional concerns that I shared here that I believe Mr. Lundy is going to try to work with the Pinellas County school system on, because when you're relocating families, as we discussed, there's no guarantee that they will be able to relocate on site. Even though the rehabilitation is going to take place in 2 phases, it may not necessarily be enough units like it was during the Hope 6 transition to move all the families from one side to the other so they stay in the vicinity so that those children could continue to go to Melrose, Tyrone, or Azalea, et cetera, and just the disruption that it does for families. So we did talk about that, and I've offered my assistance to help in any way that I can with that. We also spoke about my concern regarding next to the last sentence in there where it talked about the ownership of the property, because it said the Jordan Park LLC or some other entity. I've been assured that it is Jordan Park LLC. It will be them. It will not be going to another entity outside of, and that was the concern before. Jordan Park went under the management of an outside organization, and that organization was not maintaining the property properly. And so we have a number of issues settling, other issues that will be addressed with the rehabilitation of the 206 units. I also had a concern and shared it with Mr. Lundy and with the representatives about, what happens if they don't come up with the additional financing to make all of this, happen. Because I don't want most of the project going through and then it ends up being a smaller footprint. So we talked about that, and I felt comfortable with the responses from that. And then I also asked a question about why would Jordan Park LLC or Rising Tide need to purchase the property, because the property had already been purchased. So, you want to explain the cycle on that and how that happens? I don't want to misstate it for my colleagues.
Sure, I'm happy to explain that. So, in addition to the bond issuance, this project will be financed in part by low-income housing tax credits. And that, or well, not the tax credits, but tax credit equity. And that equity comes from a private investor. The investor needs to be able to participate in a single-purpose entity that will be controlled and managed by the housing authority, but it will have a minority interest from the investor who is able to take advantage of those tax credits to offset other gains in other parts of its operations. And that's the reason for the other entity. But that entity is structured so that the housing authority is the managing member and controls that entity from an operational standpoint. And also that operating agreement of that entity also stipulates that the housing authority will be the manager of the apartment community. So I think that covers probably both sides of that question.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Lundy, did you want to maybe explain what we talked about regarding the tracking of those residents from the senior village area?
Yes.
And what we talked about as it
Yes.
relates to them coming back? Because I shared a concern with how the vouchers work and being able to get out of one lease agreement to be able to move back should they be in the middle of a lease agreement, because currently they would, if we follow the rules, they would lose their voucher if they left prior to completion or prior to the end of the lease.
So initially, a couple years ago, there were about 25, maybe 30 residents, a little under 30 senior residents that stayed in the 31 units. They were relocated and have been out in the community since that time. We've had the pleasure of talking to each of those residents, and there's about 24 that are still within the area, and many of them are interested in staying where they are. There are some residents who, some of them want to come back to the redeveloped site with the senior building. We have assured them that they would have first right of return, and we've also did that for the family units, the residents in the family units of having first right to return. So it's more of an art in terms of managing the relocation, but I think we've done it a few times. We feel pretty comfortable with managing 200 families. We're going to ensure that 100 of those families on the family site are in place during the redevelopment of the first phase, and give them opportunity to move to the redeveloped side once the redevelopment is complete, which will create some vacancies, enough vacancies for us to begin working on phase 2. That's kind of, in a nutshell, what we intend to do. But as I mentioned to the commissioner, we've spoken to all the residents. And we've done it more than once. We've done it multiple times. We've talked to all the residents on the family side, and we've talked to the residents in the senior building, and they're excited about the redevelopment of Jordan Park, as we are. And we're going to hold their hand. The other thing I would just share with this county commissioners, board of county commissioners, and that is, we're committing resources, additional resources, to ensure that the residents have a a safe sort of relocation and uninterrupted sort of, low-stress relocation process. So we're in the process of hiring some social workers to counsel with the residents for what we call mobility counseling. And we're also going to be purchasing a van that kind of get them around town to look at various units that may be available. So those are just some of the things that we're doing just to ensure, hold their hands as we go through the relocation process.
Commissioner Justice, I know you've been waiting. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, last week I made notes of Commissioner Flowers' questions because she asked great questions, and he addressed all of them. I think that first right of return, especially for our seniors, is so important, not just in any space, but this is a very special location to a lot of folks, and that needs to be recognized. So I appreciate that first right of return for them.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to my colleagues for indulging me with my long list of questions and concerns, and I did share why for the long list, as well as I shared that with both parties. I think we had a very good discussion. I also think they know that I'll be calling if, well, if someone shares some concerns, I'll be calling just for clarification or to see how we can work out some of the issues. But I do thank them for taking the time. We spent quite a bit of time talking through the questions that I presented here. And I want to thank Tom as well and his team for, Tom from our county department and his team for making the very quick connection so that we could have that conversation prior to today. But thank you for your questions and concerns. And the only other thing I would say is, sometimes we've had it here, good communication to the outside public is always best. And that way persons know exactly what's going on. So it helps alleviate any potential questioning or rumors of things that aren't necessarily accurate. So I think that'll be good too as the project moves forward, because there is a lot of attachment to Jordan Park. And so I do thank you all for that. And the only other question I had that I know we didn't get an answer to was whether or not there needed to be a request for air rights based on the height of the building being taller than any other current building, if you would need to go before zoning with the city of St. Petersburg for that, since you're going up 3 stories and the tallest building there is 2. So you can find that out at a later date.
We've already got the full zoning approval, and I'm not aware that there's any need for that. And in fact, I know that the 275, it's not really an overpass, but it's built up right near where this building is. It's about the same height as this 3-story
It's right in front of the building.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right in front of the proposed building, yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner Flowers. Appreciate, there's a lot of issues in the details. So thank you for getting into some of those questions for us. Are there any other questions from the commission? Any thoughts? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. So no other questions? I have a motion, please. Okay. A motion by Commissioner Flowers, second by Commissioner Gerard. And I think the two that that put their cards in have spoken. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, on to item 20 under County Attorney reports. Mr. Kroll.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I understand it, this was brought forward just to allow some time to have an update on redistricting, as Jewel White had previously brought forward. In response to the census every 10 years, the redistricting process has to begin. It has to be completed in an odd year by the end of the year. That means it's 2021. We've gotten some updated information. The Census Bureau has now projected that it will be April 30th, 2021. So that's another month pushed back before we expect the states to receive the apportionment counts. So that compresses your time frame just a little bit. That said, our recommendation continues to be to go ahead and get your redistricting board appointments done. Courtney has been working with Kat Carpenter And if you commissioners can get your individual appointments to Courtney by February 12th, that's this Friday, she can prepare the agenda and ballots for the remaining appointments for the at-large positions, in addition to, the approvals for the individual commissioner appointments. Kat's working on a ballot procedure to help make that happen. It's a little unwieldy, so we're going to do our best to help work you through that. Once the redistricting board has its first meeting, there is a 7-month timeline. The redistricting board has 150 days after their first meeting to provide its final recommendation to you, the Board of County Commissioners. Then you, as the board, have a 60-day time frame after you receive, whenever in that 150 days they provide it, you have 60 days from that date to adopt the final redistricting plan. The May 11th, we've done a little bit of the math, is 210 days, which is 150 plus 60 before December 7th. December 7th is your last Board of County Commissioners regularly scheduled meeting of the year. Now, you are not bound to that. You could obviously have a special meeting with notice and things like that, should that come to be. But for the purposes of kind of helping you work backwards on the time frame, May 11th or thereabouts, a little thereafter, would be a good time frame if you're shooting for that December 7th date for a board decision on that. With that, I would also like to note Amanda Coffey from our office, as well as our Stetson intern Mariah Miller, has done a lot of work on this. So if I get any questions that stump me, I reserve the right to phone a friend. So,
well, the question I had was what I thought you were going to say was that May 11th would be a great time to have their first meeting, not for us to make a decision. It seemed.
If I said that, I misspoke. May 11th would be, or shortly thereafter, would be a good time for them to have the redistricting board to have their first meeting. Okay. Yes, sir. If I misstated that,
no, maybe I misheard. Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Mr. So we had been kind of not speedily, but working towards this March meeting to select the committee, assuming that the census data was actually April 1st, correct? So this pushes that all back a month. My only concern is if we set that starts the clock on them, maybe.
Well, the clock doesn't start on them until their first meeting, until they actually have their first meeting. And depending on how that would fall out, I mean, you start running into the end of the year if you're not careful with that 210 days, the later this gets. Up from May 11th takes you to December 7th is 210 days. Now that again assumes everybody uses all of the time available to them, but.
And break that down again, the committee has.
150 days.
And.
Then the county commission has 60 days after the recommendation from the redistricting committee.
Okay, all right, so you're factoring our 60, all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we can make the decision at the March meeting or whatever. I just don't.
To appoint.
We just tell them the first meeting will be.
Yes, sir.
After we get the information.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, any questions for Don on this other than that? So we, Kat, I'm assuming then that, was your thought to bring it at the second meeting this month or the only meeting in March?
I believe the intent was to bring it in March. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Yes, that's correct. I think the intent is to bring it in March, and we're contemplating how we can do a voice vote just to eliminate the passing around of papers during COVID. So we're working on that procedure.
Okay, but the idea still for that time frame is for all of us to have our one selection, our recommendation for each of our own choices in by this Friday.
That's correct.
Is everybody listening? I don't know who's not got it in, but whoever it is, get them in. And,
I have the benefit of not knowing either, so I can't call anyone out.
I don't want to know. Just encouragement. Let's get it all done so we can do that March meeting. Okay. Anything else from your office, Don?
Not for me. If you have questions, let me know.
Okay. Any questions for Don? All right. County Administrator.
I have 3 items for discussion. First, we've discussed for some time a consensus statement regarding recommendations that a committee put together on how we would and when we would consider relaxing any of our current regulations regarding COVID. So for instance, the mask mandate. If you recall back, when this come up, a number of professional individuals from around the Tampa Bay region came together, doctors. This included doctors from Advent Health, from the Infectious Disease Associates of Tampa Bay, the Health Department, Hillsborough County Medical Association, Hillsborough County Healthcare Plan Advisory Board, members, doctors from USF, from James A. Haley, VA, Moffitt Cancer Center, Health Department in Hillsborough, HCA, the Community Health Centers, Tampa General Hospital, Pediatric Infectious Disease Medical Association Advisory Committee, Pasco County Health Department, USF College of Public Health, Baycare Health, and another individual from the USF College of Public Health. So they come together and discussed what type of criteria we should consider using. So they submitted this to us as a consensus statement, not necessarily for you to adopt, but as guiding principles or guidance or recommendations that they have for you, that at the right time, these would be the criteria that you could consider. So what I want to put forward today is the consensus statement for you. We'll put that on our website to where it's available because people have asked. And again, at the right time, as you'll see from the criteria, one of the reasons we never brought it forward is because right at that time, we started seeing the number of cases significantly increase. Their recommendation is evidence-based thresholds that are recommended to meet across the Tampa Bay region, so this is not just our county, to support consideration of rescinding the mask order for any county, would be one, that the incident rate is at or below 3 new cases per 100,000 population on a 7-day rolling average over 4 consecutive 7-day periods, 2 incubation periods. What that would mean is 30 new cases a day in Pinellas County, okay, over 4 consecutive weeks. The second is a test positivity rate at 3% or less on a rolling 7-day average for 4 consecutive weeks. Again, 2 incubation periods. Those were the recommendations. We've been asked a couple of times, so I wanted to bring those forward. I'll email these out, and then we'll post that on our website. And again, at the right time, it's here as a group of professionals making just recommendations to you for consideration.
And you'll put that out on the website, you said?
We will put it out on the website also. Okay, we'll send this out to you today. The second item that I wanted to address is the issue that the sheriff's office is dealing with regarding the Oldsmar security breach within their water system. And in here, we use this as a lessons learned, because there's many critical infrastructure issues that we have where there's remote access. But what I really wanted to assure the public is that the situation that existed in Oldsmar doesn't exist within our Pinellas County systems. But now's the time to double down on making sure that we have proper procedures in place, protocols in place, and safeguards in place to ensure, public health in this particular case. But it could be any piece of infrastructure. It could be wastewater treatment plants. It could be controlling of our lights. Any other type of access issue. They're doing their forensic, investigation and looking at that. But I just wanted to kind of put out that there were a number of specific situations that occurred there where we have safeguards within our system and has existed. We held a meeting last night with the county administrators in Pasco, Hillsborough, Tampa Bay Water, and all of our city managers that I hosted, and the sheriff and the director of the FBI commented in more detail. But when you're a plant operator and you do this every single day and then something occurs, thank God they recognize that. But you do it every day and you see that, but it's just so critical that people are aware and that you act, and you tell someone. Well, I think that's in any of ours, and so we're gonna look and make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure public safety. So.
And on that front, Barry, I'm assuming that in that call, not only did we extend a helping hand to those, I think there's 3 others in the county, 3 other water supplies, independent. But also, was there any help forthcoming from the sheriff or the, because, I mean, you know, I want to make sure ours is good, Tampa Bay Waters is good, but then we have those 3 communities to consider ourselves.
First, there's very specific things that cause this, and we're making sure that that situation doesn't exist anywhere else. But the director of FBI did offer resources that are available to do assessments to local governments, and so he made that offer. And if they need assistance in conducting that review, and offered them places to go to obtain those types of resources. But it was it's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that there's procedures in place for a reason. There's a reminder of when you have patches and other things for systems that you can't go cheap, and you need to keep those systems up to date. And, you know, and all the things we do with security protocols where, you know, you and I get locked out of our computer because of password changes and stuff. Well, you know, they're there for a reason. And so we have to make sure that we remind ourselves not to cut corners.
Yeah, that, as you said, and complacency, that we kind of get used to the routine of the day and forget something that might come across the screen. So, Commissioner Long?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Barry, this conversation is reminding me of pretty deep discussion we had on the BTS board some time ago.
Yep.
And they were working very diligently to ensure a training, some kind of a training session with all of the staff in county government, and to include the elected officials. And I don't know about my colleagues, but I've never had an opportunity to go through that training. And I'm thinking that because of the way our passwords change and the ways in which we are connected with electronics, that it wouldn't be a bad idea for a refresher for all of us as well, especially as we're working more and more and more on our iPads, which tend to be very sensitive to those pesky little password things.
I'll follow up, and first off, we haven't done that yet, but we're going to follow up with all of our agencies, and I'll certainly mention this to BTS. I'll remind you that you funded, as part of this year, enhanced security measures within our IT system. One of those is with the way in which we sign on. We have many different systems within the county, and the enhanced protocols and what you funded, and it was significant, will significantly enhance our security regarding passwords. So that is being implemented. It's not there yet. So I'll have to check with them in terms of the training, whether they're waiting for after that or before, but I'll certainly follow up.
But as an example, if I may follow up, Mr. Chair, has your staff all been trained on these security issues?
Frankly, I can't recall. I mean, we have reminders that come out periodically, but I'd have to follow up and check. I really don't remember.
Does our staff?
Well, I think somebody knows when that's a good thing. And I just encourage you, Barry, as you always have been doing, to partner with our cities on this. They don't have access to what we have on the IT side, so
Yes.
whatever assistance, I'm sure you've already done that, but
Yes, we absolutely have safeguards in place within that, and staff has texted me, yes, they have been trained on those enhanced
But I don't know, I
procedures.
just turned around and asked Kim, she indicated she hasn't received
Okay.
the training, right?
Well,
So-
again, we will follow up. It's an organization-wide issue. Well, what this really was, and the reason we held the meeting last night, was to, make everybody aware that that there are bad actors out there. There's somebody looking to do something, and nobody would have thought in a small water system out in Oldsmar they would attempt to change, the water system, and in fact it occurred. And so I think it's just a reminder to us, regardless of where we're at and what we're doing, that we need to redouble our efforts to make sure that we're protecting our critical infrastructure and our computer system securities.
so you answered, when I asked you a question, you answered the previous question, but I'm assuming we're working with those 3 other cities in offering assistance if they would like to at least understand what we go through from a protocol standpoint, safety protocol.
We, to my knowledge, I don't know that we have reached out to them. We certainly can. I know Tampa Bay Water was on the call, and whether it's us, the FBI offered ways in which each entity could reach out and how they could assist.
Okay.
But we can certainly reach out
I
to
just
the other
want to,
two.
you know, whatever, this is all hands on deck. This is
Yeah.
really critical stuff. Thank goodness we didn't have any problem this
Correct.
time. But obviously, water.
We'll reach
Thank
out to
you.
the other two in specific answer to your question.
Thank you.
Okay. The last thing that I wanted just to mention is we've had a couple of calls with our beach communities regarding the messaging for spring break. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and that is not going to change between now and when we traditionally see a spring break crowd. We also recognize that we don't want to repeat the images of last year, you know, on our beach. And so we're working in conjunction with our beach communities, with our hoteliers, on the right message. You know, it is warm here, and people are, you know, have been cooped up. Kids have been cooped up, and they're gonna come. But we want to do it in the right manner. So we're working together on a messaging that will talk about it being a responsible destination and asking that you abide by that. Having giveaways for people when they arrive for masks and hand sanitizers and things like that. And just an overall reminder, working in conjunction with the CVB, with the cities, and with the hoteliers on presenting the right message. You're welcome to come. We want you to come, but we want you to come and be responsible in your visit. And so that is being prepared. We'll have more to come as they kind of finalize those plans. But especially from a digital advertising, they're starting to push that out now. So they want to get out ahead of this and be proactive in their response. Those are the 3 items I have.
Yeah, the spring break obviously concerns all of us. And I think if you look back last year, it wasn't so much about activities on the beach, although I'm sure there was some of that going on, but more what happened, you know, after hours. You know, you go to dinner, and then you go to bars, and you go to nightclubs, and then you come back, and there's a lot of that activity from a lot of young folks that just have a different mindset than other folks do. And I don't mean it's bad, it's just different. And
it's hard to manage. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw that just, you know, a couple of days ago on Sunday night and Saturday night throughout the region. It is extremely hard to manage for those that, you know, want to act as though it's not, you know, we're not in the middle of a pandemic, and they want to pack into a place. I feel for our bar owners. I really believe that our bar and restaurant owners are really trying. They're trying very, very hard, you know, but that's the reason for the messaging. That's the reason for asking them to take some chairs out at the bar, to have, you know, to set up an environment to where it encourages people to act responsibly. And we do the best we can. But we'll continue to message it. We'll continue to work with them and do our best to try to manage through this time period.
I really liked that when you had those conversations with some of the chambers, and on those calls you had some business owners too. And maybe it's, you know, again, a follow-up with a call like that, I think at least brings that level of importance to the issue again. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have that reminder that, you know, we really want to work together on this. We're not looking to shut things down. We're not looking to, you know, but we really need you to partner with us on this. And
through
yeah,
these
I
next
think
several
those-
months.
I
It's a
thought those
critical
were-
time period.
Yeah, I thought those were great meetings that you had. So anyway,
Good.
any questions for Barry from anybody? Okay.
That's all good.
Thank you. And I'll just go around. Anybody have any county commission new business? Any
I do.
boards and updates?
I do.
Who was I do over here? Oh, Commissioner Long, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Well, I have quite a bit of interesting activity to report for this month. First, I'd like to share with you something I was made aware of yesterday with regard to T. Barta and a call I received from Senator Brandis. He had a little bill in front of him, which he intended to file, Senate Bill 1130, and Senate Bill 1130 is designed to dissolve T-BARTA. That is pretty problematic for Tampa Bay in terms of regional transportation, because for the first time in over 50 years, we have been working on a 41-mile feasibility plan that has started with the first major project and a large grant from the federal government to complete it, of the Sunrunner line that goes from St. Pete Beach down to downtown St. Petersburg. And the plan was ultimately to go over the Howard Franklin through Tampa and all the way out to Wesley Chapel, with stops at the airport and the university, et cetera, et cetera. So given that this would pass, which hopefully right now it doesn't have a House sponsor, who knows, I don't know where it'll go, but you know, it would set our region back for decades in regional transportation discussions. I think you all know that, so please stay tuned. On top of that, we had our last meeting on Friday, and it was held down in Manatee County. And unfortunately, there were only 4 board members that were there. This has been an ongoing problem with the board of T-BARTA. Commissioner Seal, you're aware. We have not been able to take an official vote on any activity since last October because we haven't been able to get a quorum. And about a year or so ago, there was a vote taken, which I did not agree with, but I was on the not prevailing side, to not meet every month, but more meet every other month, which has just caused even less attendance than we had before. So stay tuned. More to come on that, obviously, as we get through session. The PSTA, this is really exciting. We just unveiled our new electric buses that were delivered, and we now have, how many, 6, 8, with more on the way. So we are really doing our job at PSTA to reduce the carbon footprint, and we have been working on ways in which we can enable Miss Ava, the newest resident downtown St. Pete. If you all haven't ridden on her, I surely hope you will try to take advantage of that. It's pretty innovative because it's an autonomous vehicle that goes up and down Beach Drive with no driver. And we think, and we're fairly certain, we're going to be able to take that pilot project, keep it running, and at the same time start one, you'll love this, Commissioner Eggers, in North County, in Dunedin, going out, and from there out to Clearwater Beach. So lots to come on that initiative as well. Next, I don't quite know how we're going to pull this off, but the Florida Association of Counties is having a virtual legislative day in Tallahassee on Wednesday, March 17th. Stay tuned for more details on that. Oh, yes, and the Regional Planning Council. We had our board meeting yesterday. That pesky little legislature is soon going into session, and they just cannot help themselves. There's another Senate bill, it's Senate Bill 62, that has been filed, and it's to do away with all of the regional planning councils all over the state as it relates to any reference to them in statute. Some of you may remember that several years ago, the regional planning councils were funded, received funding from the state of Florida, and when Governor Scott became governor, he took away he vetoed all the funding for the regional planning councils, and they have been functioning from then until now pretty much on interlocal agreements between all of the partners. What makes this very problematic for our regional planning council is that the efforts and the initiative for the climate change, sea level rise, sustainability, and resiliency compact that was signed over a year ago by 25 regional governments has now expanded and includes 31 local and regional governments. And on top of that, that compact was passed at the policy conference, the legislative conference, and the annual conference of the Florida Association of Counties, passed by all 67 counties, and was used as a catalyst to encourage the governor to open his sustainability and resiliency office. And if you've been paying attention to that issue, you know that he has appropriated significant dollars for any governmental entity or agency that is working on these resiliency and sustainability issues. And of course, we all know we are. So I've been hopeful that we would see some progress made, more so than in the past, on this issue. We also had quite a deep dive discussion on the probability of being able to hold our second leadership summit on this issue in the month of June. And as we talked through it, we realized that it's probably a lot better to try to stretch for maybe late fall or early in the beginning of 2022. So stay tuned for that. And just a couple other things you may or may not be interested in. I was very fortunate to be able to serve on a Women Leaders in Climate on a panel last Friday with Congresswoman Kathy Castor, Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, and representatives from Miami and the University of Florida. So it was quite a wealth of information that was relayed during that Zoom meeting. And lastly, Mr. Burton, maybe you could give us, or I don't know, it looks like maybe Kelly is gone. I don't see her. Or is that her? Oh, I see her waving. Yes, we had a somewhat troubling updated email from Captain Hubbard at St. John's Pass. Kelly, is there any chance that you have any updates that you can offer us about what looks like now the entire pass is closing up? That would be problematic, I would think, for a lot of people.
I have not seen that email, but I can say that we are having a meeting, I believe it's next week, the first TAC meeting, which will include all the regulatory agencies and the technical staff. So they'll be getting their first look at the data that Dr. Wang has been collecting. He's ready to present that information. That's about all I have. I have not received any concerns about the pass closing, and I just want to reiterate that from the Army Corps' perspective, the pass is the channel, and they just completed a bathymetric survey of that channel in 2020. It is very deep. So they may, if they're speaking about the area outside the channel in front of Hubbard's, that's the area that we're specifically looking at as part of this study, but we don't actually consider that part of the channel per se.
So that leads me to say, when Dr. Wang, I think it's his name, it gives the analysis of his report, is he also going to provide any recommendations for solution, or no? Where does that come from?
Yeah, yes, that's part of the scope of work. So this initial view is just what the data that he's collected to date and what he's seeing. So at the close of that TAC meeting, I did ask them to provide a written update so that I could provide that up through Barry to make sure that that information gets to you. The study itself is expected to take 6 months from the notice to proceed, which was the beginning of January. So it's moving very quickly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time.
No problem. Did you have something? Commissioner Justice, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick couple things. One, Senate Bill 1130 that you mentioned by Senator Brandis, did he tell you that was he change of heart that he was not going to pursue it? Because it's filed and on the docket right now.
I know, and I was hoping that he was calling to give us an opportunity for discussion, but it was very clear that he was not terribly interested in having a discussion. He had already made up his mind, and he was pretty solid on moving it forward. He did give me additional information, which I would rather not share at the moment, since I haven't had an opportunity to verify it. But if what he said was true, I would find it very, very troubling. And so, as chair of the legislative committee, I have asked for an emergency legislative meeting of the committee on Friday morning at 9 o'clock. So.
Okay. And then the only other thing was I wanted to just say several of us were able to join the Alpha Kappa Alpha ceremony last night online honoring our very own Renee Flowers, and just wanted to say it was great to be on that event last night and hear all the wonderful things that some I knew and some I didn't know about you, and again, just another opportunity for us to welcome you to the commission.
Well, I hope you'll share, since some of us weren't able to get on. Oh, that's not fair.
Anything else? Commissioner Seal.
Thank you. Just a couple things, mostly a report from the JWB meeting yesterday. We did approve almost $1.5 million in funding for the Pinellas Food Banks for 7 months, starting March 1st, so that we can augment the St. Pete Food Bank, as well as RCS Florida Dream Center and Tarpon Springs, the Shepherd Center, just to make sure that that continues. The other matter that I did want to ask about, I know we probably don't have an update from Barry on this yet, but for the CARES eviction prevention funding, I assume that will be covering everyone, including families, because JWB is counting on the fact that we will be covering families rather than through JWB monies, but we can talk about that later. Yeah, okay. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is she's not here, but happy birthday to Jewel White.
Happy birthday,
And when she
Jewel.
gets back, we'll have to celebrate. It was a very special birthday. Thank you.
That was not nice.
And no guessing allowed. Anybody else? I just had a couple things real quick. I wanted to tell you that I was going to appoint Charlie as the alternate for the canvassing board, and I just wanted you guys to support me on that. So if I could get a motion for that approval. Thank you. Thank you for Commissioner Peters as the second. Commissioner Flowers made the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there you go, Charlie. Tampa Bay Water, just nothing really to report, although there's continuing discussion and dialogue about a new effort from City of Tampa for self-sustaining program, another alternative. So we're getting into that discussion again with the City of Tampa. Really like their attitude so far. It's been really a lot different than it was 2 years ago. So really good. And we continue to work on the preliminary work to lay the groundwork for our search for a new executive director / general manager for the organization. In the interim, in the meantime, our interim general manager is Chuck Carden. He's been there 30 years. He's head of operations, but now he is the interim manager there. So nothing else on that. I was getting a couple texts from a couple of the mayors asking if there was any celebrations that were planned from the Buccaneers perspective on any kind of parade, and I checked with Steve Hayes and he hadn't heard anything yet, so there could be things unfolding as we speak. We've been in meetings all day, so who knows, but anyway, just hadn't heard anything, so I don't know if there's anything that's out there for our residents in reasonableness world, and or whether there's anything available to elected officials. I have no idea. And Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you for inviting us, Commissioner Flowers, to last night. That was really nice to learn a lot about you. I don't know that much about you before you came here, other than your elected positions, and it was great to hear some of the personal stories. So thank you for that. And Barry, I know that last Friday's Facebook Live did not go over as well as we would like to it, but I don't want to give up on it because I do think it is the one opportunity. The one thing I've heard from people since then is, can't we ask questions of somebody? And some of them we did get during the week, and we tried to provide answers to that slew of questions that we were getting. But even on the fly, people want to be able to ask a question or two. So I just don't want you to give up on that. I want you to think through it, and maybe I don't know how you're going to redesign it, but I do think it's important to have that reach to our community.
I'd like to, if I can, just respond quickly. I'd like for us to be able to put in place the website changes, and also the change in the registration process. Those are two of the biggest issues. And then have another one. I think it's a good way of doing that. But as you also saw, and I read through, the hundreds of comments, and a lot of it goes to things that we did answer, we just don't have good answers for. Why, if I have an underlying condition, why can't I get a vaccination? And it's just a supply issue. So it's frustrating and difficult for people not to get answers, and it's really hard to get good information out. Without having all the answers.
But the answer to that question is you can through the hospitals, if they have the supply.
If they have the supply.
Right. So, I mean, again.
But we can, I absolutely agree with you. We can continue to do that. I have no problem with doing that. We've done that, when we were dealing with all the businesses and everything else, the sheriff and I did that. So I'll discuss it with Barbara, and we can set up another one.
And it does, it can be any time during the week.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be. And, I'm sure that if I'm not available, some other commissioners would sit in too. So, but just let us know. Keep us posted on that.
Absolutely.
Anything else before we adjourn the meeting? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.